And I think it is time that we went live. How are you getting on, everybody? Good to see us all there in the chat. I am extremely excited about this stream today. It's been a long time coming. I think we've got a great comrade here, Comrade Siewert, from the Communist Youth Movement in the Netherlands. And I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name of the organization in Dutch. I can't do it. CJB. I know. How do you pronounce it, comrade?
It's like a communistische jongerenbeweging.
Oh yeah, easy peasy stuff.
It's not so bad. No, like
Communist younger. Yeah,
your
nailed it.
it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, so let's CJB. We got that. Comrade.
CJB, yeah, that will just because you can see like CYM the whole time, like Communist Youth Movement, but then
Yes,
it's kind of
definitely.
situation. We don't want this, so
And by the way, I should say before we go any further, you are very much our brothers and sisters in struggle. If I'm not mistaken, we are party to the same meeting of European Communist Youth Organizations. And
yes, we
I
are.
believe there's affiliation as well, or at least some connection with the left-wing anti-imperialist World Federation of Democratic Youth. So
We are comrades in arms without a
absolutely,
doubt.
it's fucking great to see, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you on today. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your
For
evening to
having me.
come on.
Like I think these kinds of things are like super important.
Yeah.
So yeah, at least for me, like before I joined like the CGB, I always had this idea like, oh yeah, communism, it's something that happens in my own country, it's something that happens in my own city, or like before we set up like a CGB in Groningen, it was like it didn't exist at all. But then you go to festivals, you see live streams or whatsoever. You're like, oh yeah, this thing is actually bigger than my city or my country or my continent. Like it's a worldwide
Yes.
thing, and I'm happy that we can like have this stream and celebrate that together. Like
Yeah,
it's really good.
absolutely. It's absolutely fantastic. And actually, it's interesting for me. It was kind of the opposite, where I would see people talking about communism on the internet, and I was like, "Oh, communism. That's that thing that happens over there, wherever over there was. I don't know. Maybe it's in like Russia or China or wherever it might be. Historical moments, whatever it might be." And it was only after sort of hearing about this online and stuff like that that I actually got really engaged in the communist movement in Ireland. Now, I'm saying communist movement as in the actual Marxist-Leninist communist movement. I've been involved with socialist politics for a very long time, but how can I say the the tanky movement?
Yeah,
So
Stalinist.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, and
Okay.
so it's really great. It's really great to have you on, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to come on. I also want to give a quick shout out to the comrades in the chat there. We have a lot of people checking this out. We've got 75 viewers at the moment. I'll do a quick shout out to our comrades there. First of all, I want to say thank you to Vermelio Batuta. Thank you very much, comrade. Thank you very much for being here, Papichulo, Murray Man, Matthew Calise, Real Politics, Social Swan, Elijah Hammond. The Partisan, iGaming, MP1, Cone, The Grow, Papichulo, Jessedai, Orcus, The Partisan, and all the rest of the comments there. XXX, YYY, Revolution International. Great to see you. I hope you're all doing well. This is going to be a really fun conversation. We've got a ton of great stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking about the communist movement historically in the Netherlands, as well as the modern day communist movement, the real world organizing that's happening right now in the Netherlands. We're also going to be talking about specific issues that affect young people. We're going to be focused on issues like precariousness, difficulties with employment contracts, and the reasons why young people should be communists and why they should get involved within this movement actively right now. Why now is a good time to do that. We're also going to be talking about the far right and the strange instance of the far right rising in the Netherlands, where they seem to be taking on this kind of quote rainbow fascism, where they sort of embrace very progressive social views and social values, and they use that as a weapon against the usual suspects, the usual minority targets that we have come to understand over the many decades of fascism's scourge of this planet. So this is going to be really good fun. Thank you very much for being here, Comrade Siewert. Would you like to introduce yourself, maybe tell us a little bit about your background and your own personal political development over the years?
Definitely.
Great.
So thanks again for having me and the CGB here tonight. So my name is Siewert. I'm 26 years old. I'm from the north of the Netherlands. And I've been like an anti-capitalist, socialist, communist. I didn't really have a title for it when I was that young, but it was since I was 16, dreaming about like this world where everything would be better than it is now. Like, I didn't really think it through until later, but I knew that something was wrong in the world like it is today, you know? So I would think about, why is there homelessness? Why is there poverty? And I would like see the movies from the United States, and I would see that there's like a lot of like, bad shit going on there.
Oh
And
yeah.
every time I would turn on the news in the Netherlands, I was like, well, wait a minute. Our country is becoming more and more like the United States, you know? Like, I would see more about like shootings, like poverty, whatsoever. And I was like, whoa, something is wrong here. But I didn't have a class analysis for it yet. I didn't have any analysis about it yet, just that it didn't feel right. So I was looking for alternatives. Had like this really good friend in high school who was like, I should like probably read this, like some Marxist literature. And I was like, yeah, sure,
Nice.
I'll read upon it. And then I read it, and I was like, fuck, this is really good. And like, as any young person that is like has these really big ideals, you want to do something at some point. So like, I was 18 years old. I remember it like like yesterday. Like, it was 1st of May, and
1st of May.
there was nothing to do
Day.
in my city. Like, it was May Day. It was nothing to do in my city, except for like this weekly meeting of the Socialist Party. And I was like, well, they're doing something on May Day, so I'm probably going there now. So I went there in the evening, and I was like, so how are you guys doing? Happy May Day, you know? And they were more like, oh yeah, 1st of May Day, whatever. They didn't really, didn't do anything for them. But still, it was a group, a socialist group in my city. And I was like, okay, this is something that I want to get involved with. So I did that. I was a member of the Socialist Party for 6 years, which is, by the way, just like it's a social democratic party. It's
I was
not
gonna
like
ask, yeah.
whatever. Like,
Was there
like
a time? Can I ask? Was there a time when it was a little bit more Marxist revolutionary? I think I heard
it was actually like the party started as a Maoist party.
that's a hell of a transition.
In the, I don't know, 1970s, like beginning of the 1970s, like started as a Maoist party, and then like gradually they moved away from that and went to like, first it was like, now we're not Maoist anymore, we're just Marxist. And then at the end of the 80s they said like, okay, we're also not Marxist anymore, or we're still Marxist but not Marxist Leninist anymore.
Right,
and then like at the end of the 90s they were like, okay, we're also not Marxist anymore, but we still have like fundamental criticism on the capitalist system, which means nothing. Like, it's so like broadly interpret that in any way you want.
Yeah.
So
sort of fascists. Doesn't mean a thing.
I mean, I wouldn't call them fascists,
No. Social fascists.
Yeah. Oh, whoa.
No. Let's not go back to the comic turn.
No, but like, yeah. So it's a social democratic party, but it has Marxist roots, and that's why they still use some Marxist vocabulary from time to time.
Yeah.
You have some people that are in the membership that consider themselves as Marxists or something related to that. And I've always kind of been the tanky, like between those people. Like, I remember when I joined, I called myself a Maoist. Why? Because I just read Mao. I was like, this is awesome. So I'm a Maoist now. Like, you're young. So you're just, yeah, so that happens. And
better than being a Trotskyist.
Definitely, I skipped that part. Like the whole anarchism. Like, I'm a social democrat liberal. I went straight into like, oh yeah, Mao, awesome. Let's like, oh, I have the red book here. Let's go with that.
I'm so fucking jealous. Jesus fucking Christ.
But still in the social democratic party. So
yeah,
even though you believe in it, you can't really voice it out loud.
Yep.
Like you cannot like being like on the streets, with a flyer in your hand. So why should I vote for the Socialist Party? And you're like, oh yeah, because capitalism fucking sucks, and
Yep.
we need to get rid of it. We need the dictatorship of the proletariat, or we need to nationalize the economy, or what's it like? Whatever, have a planned economy.
Mm.
So I couldn't really say what I wanted to say. But that's like besides the whole party also just not being revolutionary. And I remember that at some point I like gradually started to move from I'm a communist and I should be like involved with the most left-wing social democratic party that's in the Netherlands because that's what people should do, to more like this party is going nowhere. Like so. And I mean, I'm not here on the stream to attack like my former friends that I still have in that party, but like at some point I had the impression that it was not going anywhere. Like the leader in the parliament was like, oh, we have nothing against capital, like we're also like a party for the entrepreneurs, shit like this. At some point I remember having a conversation with like with a girl that I knew from the party, and I was like, like I'm loyal to Marxism, or to Marxism Leninism. I'm not loyal to this party. So when I don't feel any hope anymore in this party, I'm out. And she was like, yeah, me too. But she's still a member and I'm not, so at some point I was like, fuck this shit, I'm out. So, and then I joined, like, because we're not here to talk crap about the Socialist Party the whole evening.
Not the whole evening anyway.
Maybe. But then I joined the CJB, and yeah, that was like an amazing experience in my life. I was like, whoa, there's like all these Marxist Leninist people that kind of feel the same like me about a lot of topics. That's super awesome, and they're actually growing. Like in the past 2 years, we grew with like 60%. And yeah, so I've been a member of them since 2019, beginning of 2019. Since last year, I'm also a member of the Central Committee.
Based.
Like I was elected in November. I had the honor to be elected for this position.
Congratulations.
Then, thank you. And yeah, we're doing what we should do as Marxist-Leninists, but probably more about that later. What we are doing,
definitely,
and why. And
I'm looking forward to hearing that as well. It's going to be really interesting, and also later on as well, we're going to talk a little bit more. We'll probably maybe circle back to this conversation about like the Socialist Party and other organizations and why people why people should join explicitly.
It's a bit wider than that, because it's not just I shouldn't not join, I don't know, Party A or Party B. It's like you should not. Well, we'll talk about that later. Also, I'm already saying it now, or we're talking about it now later in the stream.
Yeah, so we're letting the cat out of the bag, as they say. But yeah, we will. We'll circle back to this idea of why you should
now
join.
We know that people are gonna stick on for the stream. Like they're not gonna like go away. They're like, oh shit, this shit is coming. So.
People in the chat are just like, oh fuck, they let the cat out of the bag. Spoilers, no fun. I'm not gonna stick around for this. What's the point? We know what's coming. Who cares? No, let's dial it back. Just before we push forward, we're gonna push forward and talk a little bit about the history of the communist movement in the Netherlands, which is going to be really exciting. I'm very interested to hear about this, especially moments like 1918 and stuff like that. This so-called like Red Week and stuff like this. It's going to be very exciting to hear about everything that happened. But before we do that, can I just ask a little bit about the NCPN as well, the New Communist Party of the Netherlands as well, and maybe if you could clarify the relation between the youth organization and the Communist Party.
So the CJB is a youth organization of the New Communist Party of the Netherlands, and the New Communist Party of the Netherlands was founded in 1993, from the top of my head, 1992, excuse me. And 1 year after the old Communist Party ceased to exist. So the Communist Party, it's an organization that exists, and most of the membership, like in many other countries around Europe, the membership is a bit old.
Oh yeah.
Why is this a thing? Like particularly in the Netherlands, like when the old Communist Party ceased to exist, it like merged into like this green left party.
Oh, I've heard all about them. Neolibs now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're like super. Yeah, they're just another bourgeois party. You know,
Yeah.
like they don't want to break with capitalism. They have like their current leader like had this book about economism or something like that, whatever
Mm.
that's supposed to mean. But yeah, so that's
He's
just
the
like a
Justin
bourgeois
Trudeau
party.
guy, isn't he? He looks.
Shouldn't expect anything from them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so what happened was a part of the membership went there, a part of the membership were just like, fuck it, we're out, you know, like the dream died. There is a part that said like, okay, we're gonna join the Socialist Party because that one still exists. And there is like a part that went to the new Communist Party of the Netherlands. But you know, it's the 90s, beginning 2000s. Communism has lost not a lot of new membership. So the people that joined the new Communist Party of the Netherlands, like at that time, those are the people that are also still members right now. And like in between those 30 years, not that many people joined. So it's only since like a couple of years that like the younger generation, like the people that I should be grateful about, you know, the people that build up the communist youth movement in the Netherlands, those are the people that are like entering the party now.
Yeah.
Like
It's the last 10
yeah,
years, isn't it?
blessed,
The last 5 years in
amazing.
particular.
Yeah, definitely.
Same thing in Ireland as well, by the way. Like, there's that kind of 30-year gap between people who were in communist
That's
parties.
also like when I joined like the CJB 2 years ago, I was like, if there is a moment to join like a Marxist-Leninist organization, it's now. Like people are fucking fed up with the system. They want something else. They don't see any answers in like the current bourgeois parties, and they want radical change. But this is the moment to organize young people on this radical change, you know. So like, if there is a moment to do it, it's now. So, and like if you look at how our membership is growing, then yeah, you can see that. You can see that it is growing, and you have all these like brilliant YouTubers nowadays, you know, that come with the content like what you're doing, or Hakeem, or you
Yeah,
Nick,
Hakeem.
and all the other.
I was like, who's that?
Brilliant people add on, you know, like. And that's good because there is like this hunger, like this new generation is like a hunger for radical change, and yeah, we should give it to them, you know, like join us, you know, fucking let's go for that.
Based.
Because yeah,
absolutely,
capitalism sucks. Join us.
Fuck yeah.
Okay,
dictatorship, proletariat. Let's do socialism.
Yeah.
You know.
Let's go. Awesome.
Can I say something funny before we get into the history of communism in the Netherlands? Actually, it's you know you mentioned the Communist Party, the old Communist Party in the Netherlands joined what is it, Green Links, the Green Left, right?
Green Left.
Green Left, yeah. So Green Left, right? Come here to me. I remember at one stage when I was in a Trotskyist party in Ireland. This was probably around 2017, and I remember I was speaking with the head guy, the leader of the organization, and he was talking about links that he had developed. Like he developed connections and built bridges with Green Left, and I was like, wait, Green Left? You're meant to be Trotskyists. You're meant to be like communists, but you're like anti-Stalinist. Like that's your whole thing, and you're building connections with these neoliberal like,
bourgeois parties, yeah.
This is exactly it. Like these bourgeois parties, and I was like, wait a minute, there's something
it's like,
off
also
here.
like it's coherent, you know, with like the strategy of like Trotskyist parties who have like this entrism, you know, like there's like almost more left-wing social democratic party, you know, like Die Linke in Germany, Socialist Party in the Netherlands.
Yeah,
they're just gonna like go into that party and then hopefully change it into the right direction.
Yeah, that's right.
Never worked, ever, you know. So
it's never ever worked, by the way.
No, never, ever. You know,
the IMT is a testament to that, I'm afraid. Apologies to any communists who are involved.
I mean, if you're a Trotskyist, sorry, but like every hour.
If you're a Trotskyist, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's it. You can end the stream there.
I'm sure they're watching. They're always watching.
Just like
I'm sorry, like every hour you put into like changing this party that you become a member of, like the social, it's like every hour you put into is like 1 hour wasted that you could have put in like building a Marxist-Leninist party in your country.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Look, here we go. We're giving the
that's all I
spoilers
have
away.
to say about it. I've been there. I've done it for 6 years. I tried. You can't. It's not just because it didn't work for me, so it won't work for anyone. No, but it just has not worked anywhere.
Exactly.
You know, so.
And it can't work. It can't work. If it worked, then it would be proven. We could see this from a scientific socialist perspective. We would be able to look at where this worked historically, and it hasn't.
Totally down that road at the moment, but the only thing I see is like social democratic parties are getting smaller and more right wing.
Oh yeah.
And the communist youth movement is growing.
Yes.
You know, getting more professional whatsoever.
Yes.
So
love to see it. Love to see it. Brilliant.
Our time.
Okay, comrade, fantastic. It's like 25 minutes in, and we're still on the introductions. As always.
It's gonna be a fun night.
It's gonna be a fun night. Can I just ask actually before we go any further? Time-wise, are you good for a few hours, or do you have a specific time that you need to be out here by?
Yeah, of course. Like,
great.
We're like in this. They just like protracted the lockdown with 3 weeks. So I'm inside the coming 3 weeks. So if you have time the coming 3 weeks.
Okay, so 3 weeks.
I also have
3 week stream.
I might have to leave, you know, from now until then to work, you know, because I also need, you know, I cannot live from just like water or whatsoever, and even the water has to be paid. So you know,
yeah.
But besides that, I'm all good. Like if we want to talk until 12 Dutch time, 1, 2, I don't know. You want to come over here at some point for a pint? I'm also fine. Like, yeah.
I'll hop on a plane and we'll just keep the stream going. I'll see you over there.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. That's great to hear. Thank you very much, comrade. I think this is going to be probably a longer one. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to people. Usually I lie to people and I'm like, oh, you know, it's going to be 1 hour. And then it's like 4 hours later. So I'm not going to fuck around.
Like, we of course had like this talk before we were going to do this. Yeah. And at some point we were all just like talking 1 hour about.
Oh yeah.
Not even like
that was just bullet points
that we were going like what we prepared.
Oh shit.
So I was like, yeah, it's gonna be one of those, but it's fine. I like talking.
Yeah, it'll be we'll stay on track. We won't go off on any mad tangents anyway. We'll keep it we'll keep concise, as they say. Okay.
We're not like hardcore drinking, so at some point we're also still making sense. At least I hope so.
Yeah, we'll try and stay at least semi-coherent throughout this.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
Let's try.
Comrades, let's jump into it. I want to hear all about the history of the communist movement in the Netherlands. Would you like to take it away?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, like, first of all, the history I'm gonna give, it's gonna be quite shorter version. Okay. So, like, if some people are going like completely mental, like, oh, you forgot about this like niche party in 1918. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm just not gonna talk about that. So basically, in the Netherlands, like first revolutionary party was founded in 1881. It was called the Social Democratic League, and like that party evolved into like the Social Democratic Party, and like the Social Democratic Workers' Party. Then at some point there was like a split, 1999, and yeah, like in the rest of the world, the split of the Second International. So you had like a group that were like revolutionaries, and there was a group that were like reformists, and the group of revolutionaries became the Communist Party of the Netherlands in 1918. So yeah, we covered that part now. Now we can continue. So then the Communist Party grew, and then before the Second World War, when fascism was already growing in Germany, and at some point it was fascist, of course. Then they already started with something that was called the Rode Hulp, the Red Help, where they would like help people from the KPD, from the German communists, to seek refuge in the Netherlands. And it's actually something that happened not too far away from the place that I live. Like if you go a bit more to the northeast, there is like this. The Ames, and they would like smuggle people over this piece of water towards the Netherlands, and that's also like where the Communist Party of the Netherlands learned how to work like in a clandestine way, you know. So that's how that started. Something we still commemorate, by the way, because like locally we had like this event with like the SDAJ, like the Sozialistische Deutsche Arbeitsjugend, like the Socialist German Workers Youth. Um, and they like we had like this event together, and we actually like walked across like all these places where people would have smuggled, also to show international solidarity. Something we did last year at a moment where the with the COVID pandemic was like more or less under control, so we were not giving each other like deadly diseases and shit like that. But it's something that we still do. So then at one point the Nazis invade the Netherlands. The Dutch Communist Party goes underground, starts to produce an illegal newspaper called De Waarheid, or The Truth. There is armed resistance. There is like a raiding of food stamp offices, because you needed to have food stamps to get certain goods. And they would like raid these offices to get these stamps for people that were like sheltering from the Nazis. So they were sheltering Jews, communists, other resistance members, and besides that, there was also like the execution of collaborators that also happened. Like these are kind of the basic things that the armed resistance and like the communist resistance did in the Netherlands. Then, after the war, the bourgeois politicians, like the media, kind of wanted to ignore the fact that communists were actually involved in doing this. Like this is like the Cold War is starting. In the beginning, they were more like, okay, like the CPN exists, fine, like we were allied with the USSR during the war, but more or less right after the war, there was already like this thing going on in the Netherlands where they were like not talking anymore about the things that the CPN did. So there is like this famous woman in the Netherlands called Hannie Schaft. She is still remembered as like a fierce anti-fascist fighter, which like at this moment is used by like bourgeois media and whatsoever as like this fighter for the fatherland, but she was a communist. But they almost never tell that. Like there was this the documentary lately, I think, and then you were like, oh yeah, like Hannie Schaft, and such a brave fighter, and like, oh, how was her youth? With whom did she like who did she befriended, and all these kinds of things. And then at the end there is like this one historian that with a very low voice, like almost ashamed to say it, like, oh yeah, she was also a communist. Like there's this movie about her in the Netherlands. It's my doorbell.
Oh, it's okay.
Sorry guys, I'm busy. Maybe my girlfriend's gonna open, who knows. But it's also like 8:30. Who's ringing the doorbell at this stage? But
Secret police.
So what?
The secret police.
The secret police. I think it's like someone else from the Central Committee. I probably said something bad, and like he went on the bicycle from Rotterdam here. Like, I told you not to say this. She did it anyway.
Don't talk about that.
It's like a Stalinist democratic centralism, biting your ass.
That's hilarious.
I don't think we can talk about anything serious tonight, but it's a serious topic, so we'll go back to the serious thing. So
yeah, of course. Oh, by the way, and just on that note, it's interesting the way they talk about her, this woman you were talking about. It's the exact same way they talk about James Connolly as well, like the leader of the Easter Rising in Ireland. Exactly. They just say he was a good Catholic and he liked sharing, and sharing is caring.
Oh yeah,
like he's also
like
not a Marxist.
Schaft, like was so brave, like because she actually killed like a collaborator at some point. She was like executed for that. They say like, oh, so brave, and she was also super brave because she like handed out these illegal newspapers. Yeah, but you also cared to say like which newspaper that was, because it was a communist newspaper.
Communist one, yeah.
So yeah, they try to like not talk about this, keep it silent, and like there was like this commemoration of her in 1951. And like the government was actually like, okay, there's this commemoration for this woman, and there's only communists coming, so it's gonna get hijacked by communists. And no, it's not getting hijacked by communists. She was a communist, so communists are going to attend. So what did they do? They sent armored cars to the commemoration to stop people from going there. And then like the communists were like at some point, okay, maybe it's better to go home if we don't want a bloodbath here. But I saw some interviews that were like, so do you think that they would like have open fired if you would have kept on moving? And the chance of that happening was actually there, so that's your freedom and democracy for you.
Oh yeah.
And like also the role of the secret police, like it's called the BVD. It's like there was like espionage with Communist Party members. Like if you would pick up the phone, they would listen. They would like follow you. They even founded like fake parties, like when like the Moscow Beijing split came in existence, like in the 70s, I think, like during the Cultural Revolution. They found like the secret police founded a communist party that was Maoist and was entirely ran by the secret police, like so that everyone that was a member, like that gave money to it or whatsoever, they were all working without knowing for the secret police. That's something that
Jesus
just
Christ.
happened.
I think they had that in the US as well. I think it's a real problem, and specifically Maoist organizations as well, which is
but it's just
gotta
like
be careful,
you try to pick out any weekend anything to weaken the bigger party, like and the more people like split from the bigger party into these parties that don't really exist, the better, so
Sure, yeah, of course. It's also
and
hugely ironic, isn't it, as well? Like they're always complaining about the Stalinists, and they're always complaining about the
it's
KGB.
ridiculous. Like
It's such a joke. This is what they're doing. Like,
exist, like these intelligence services, they exist, and like the state will use its power against people that want to overthrow the system. And like in the Netherlands, it were the communists that wanted to overthrow the system. So those are the people that you're going to oppress.
Yeah.
Like that's how it works. It's the function of a state. And if you don't know what the function of a state is, like read Lenin or something. Like,
definitely, it's class rule, class dictatorship.
Or we're gonna talk about it a bit later. I mean, the answer should never, or should not always be just read. I'm not gonna educate you. Like, okay, we're also here to educate you.
Definitely.
But you can always read the book State and Revolution by Lenin. Really good book. I can recommend it to everyone.
Hard agree.
So back to the Netherlands. So there was like this exclusion from work. Like there was no in Germany had like this whole beroepsverbod kind of thing where you were actually like prohibited from having certain jobs in Germany, mostly linked to the government, but also other things. We didn't have like officially have something like that in the Netherlands, I think, but it was quite hard to get certain jobs when you were a communist. And like that was a very real thing. And also like exclusion from public life. And that's not just for like the people that were actually engaged, but also like the children of the people that were engaged, like if you were like on the school grounds, like you don't play with communists. And like they were like, people were being bullied and like called Russians and like all kinds of bullshit like this, so that those are like the anti-communism was pretty intense also in the Netherlands. And like I think like the high point, like the climax came in 1956 when like the USSR was called up to honor their international list duty towards Hungary to like crush the counter-revolutionaries there. And then like the Dutch Communist Party was like, okay, we support this move, like we can see that this was a counter-revolutionary uprising, blah 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 blah. And then something like just snapped in the Netherlands, and there was like former fascists, like deeply conservative Christians, former army men, the most reactionary people, let's say, they all went to like Amsterdam, where the headquarters of the Communist Party was, and they just like raided the office there. And it's actually like that happening is not a beautiful story, but a beautiful story is like that people like from the province where I'm from, and like I'm 2 hours away from Amsterdam, people would hop into the car, go to Amsterdam, and like help barricade the doors so people would not get inside like the bigger party office, let's say, into the headquarters, because that's also where like the press for the newspaper was. And they couldn't get inside. Like at the end, like all the windows were broken. Like there was a huge damage towards building, but they didn't manage to get inside. And also like the police, of course, was not doing too much. There were like newspapers that said like, the communists got what they had coming, and all these kinds of things. So that's kind of the negative side.
That's crazy.
Of like communism during the Cold War, but they're also like, like inspiring stories about people that were like involved in the women's movement, in the anti-war movement, in the student movement, within the unions, like trying to get like a class consciousness inside of these movements, to be a part of the mass movement. The Communist Party of the Netherlands was also the only party that actively fought colonialism, because, as you know, like even like after the Second World War, the Netherlands was still a colonial power, and like the CPN always opposed like us having colonies, like whether it be in Indonesia, in Suriname, or in the Caribbean. They always opposed it. So even when the Social Democrats, like there was the Social Democratic Prime Minister, even when they went to Indonesia to like have like these police missions, as they call it here, which was actually an independence war. Like when they had the independence war there, the Communist Party was like actively opposing it and like organizing people on that platform. So it was not all bad. But yeah, there was oppression towards communism in the Netherlands, and but even though that happened, there were still a lot of inspiring tales, and it's I also just love it to sit around the fireplace. Not that we do that too often, but let's say for the story, sit around the fireplace with like older comrades, and them just talking about all kinds of stuff that they did, and like how many times they've been jailed for, I don't know, like doing kind of illegal stuff against nuclear weapons or stuff like that.
Amazing to hear. You love to hear it.
Oh, then things were getting a bit not so good, let's say. So it was in the 80s, like I think comrades from other parts of the continent will agree on this, when Euro-communism like became a thing, that things were not actually getting better in a lot of parts of the world. And like within the Communist Party of the Netherlands, you had like the innovators. That's how they, I don't know if they called themselves like that, if they were called themselves, I think they called themselves like the innovators. And what the innovators wanted to do was lay less focus on class struggle, not taking a leading role anymore in like the social movements. They were like, instead of leading social movements, or at least trying to lead social movements and having like a class consciousness within it, they were being led by the social movements.
Taylism. This is literally, not to be too Reed Lenin again, but this is literally what is to be done 101. This is taylism. This is staying behind the masses, 100%. Tailing them, following them. Just you're just always 10 steps behind them. And there was, of course, this shift more towards identity issues and identity struggle occurred sort of from the neoliberal period onwards up to the 90s, and still to this day we're still dealing with this. Just the abandoning of class politics, and I would say opportunistically, opportunistically
the root in this problem is just to not lay focus on class struggle anymore. Like you're not gonna see like because like identity struggle can be a real struggle.
Of course,
like, it's not like racism, sexism, like all these things don't exist. They exist, but we need to also look at it from a class perspective, because else you're gonna be like the Green Left Party in the Netherlands that like a couple of months ago said like, oh yeah, the warship should have like tough female names. Like no, what do we do?
More
definitely,
hell no.
Like if you want to do something like organize like working class women on things that they find is important, like having uh, free childcare, stuff like that, like getting equity in pay, and like all these kinds of things, those are important. Like who cares what like some imperialist warship is called when you have to raise like 2 children on fucking minimum wage alone, like
Yeah.
the but yeah, okay. So eventually, they removed Marxism, Leninism, and democratic centralism from the party program in 1985, and yeah, that's when things became pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like simultaneously, there was an opposition group. It was like this. It was called like the Horizontal Council of Communists. Was already founded in 1982. Was a group that already saw like these changes growing within the party, and they were like, okay, maybe not exactly democratic centralism, but they organized like this group within the party that was like an opposition group, more or less, within the party that said, okay, we need to like abide by the Marxist-Leninist principles. They changed, or they became later like the League of Communists in the Netherlands in 1983. And then when the party removed Marxism, Leninism, and democratic centralism from the party program, they were also like, okay, this is a fight that cannot be won. We're out. And they formed their own party. And that party later on in 1992 became the New Communist Party of the Netherlands. And then the CJB was founded in 2003, and now it's 2020, and we're still here, growing stronger than ever.
Fantastic ending to the story. I shouldn't even say ending, because it's a continuous struggle. It'll end when we get to communism. That's when it'll end. But it's great to see. And you also mentioned that there's been massive growth as well in the recent years, maybe the last decade or so. That's right, yeah?
Yeah, it's like I think I already told it on this, like said it on the stream. Like last 2 years, like we grew with 60%.
60%.
Like that's pretty good.
People
Like it gives me so much hope, to see all these people like committed communists that are I don't know, like fighting for social change, that are getting involved in the union, getting involved in like these social movements. And it's just marvelous to see.
Well,
like it gives me so much energy. Like I remember at some point when I was with that other organization, let's say, I was like, I don't know if things are gonna get better, and why are we still doing this? Like we're not changing anything, or like all these kinds of like really feeling a bit depressed even about politics at some point, not really seeing a way forward. And then at some point you're with Marxist Leninists, it's like, yeah, it's gonna take a while, guys, like, but we need to like keep on going and build like this movement and build this party. And when you're actually building that party, like in the last 2 years, we've grown, like not just in membership, but also like in like the way that we're handling all kinds of stuff. Like we have like this communication group which handles communication. We have like this we're writing way more things for our online magazine, and we have like a dedicated group of people that are writing for that, and that's becoming more professional. And those people start to write for like the party newspaper as well, so the party newspaper is also getting better and better. And you see that instead of going backwards, we're going forwards, and that's where we have to go. I mean, it's also the reason why our website is called Forwards, of course. But it gives me so much energy to keep on doing this with like these lovely people around me. Like I can recommend it to everyone.
Hard agree, and I really know exactly what you're talking about. I feel the exact same way with the Connolly Youth Movement. I was going to say Communist Youth Movement, but the Connolly Youth Movement in Ireland as well. It's a very similar, exciting feeling. We've had a very similar experience where things are just growing very rapidly and have been growing very rapidly over the past couple of years, and it's incredible to be a part of that. And I really would encourage everybody who's checking this out to get involved with your local communist movement. I think it's really important that you do participate in that, but again, spoilers. We'll probably come back to this. a little bit later. But yeah, it's great to see.
Well,
It's great. It's great to see that people are getting more involved in these things and that they are growing. I mean, I suppose the kids can't get enough of that communism. you
yeah,
know,
literally.
great to see, and yeah, very very exciting stuff. So, Kirsty, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Do you want to tell me a little bit about the organization's current activities and what you guys
Yeah,
are up to over there at the moment in the
course,
Netherlands?
of course, yeah. So at the moment, like I can mostly speak from the place I'm from. So like there is this factory closure. Like they announced, like there is this tobacco factory in the city. It's been here for like 200 years. They decided to like move this factory towards Germany or Hungary because the exploitation of workers is way more severe there, so they can make more money. So we're having very close ties with the person from like the local union that's actually like involved with this, and we're like helping them in every way possible. Soon we also will have our own like little manifestation there where we're going to like um, yeah, show our solidarity with the workers of this factory. So that's one thing we're doing. We're supporting the unions and there are other campaigns, like there is this 414 campaign where we're struggling for a minimum wage of 14 euros an hour. There is a campaign that's called like Not My Debt, but like the word debt and fault in Dutch are the same, so like it has a double meaning. Um, but it's mostly just like it's not my debt, it's not my fault, and like there we're like fighting for having like how do you say it again? Like the God, fucking English. Uh,
A sentiment we can all relate to, I'm sure.
Who fucking
Fucking
invented
English.
this? Like, it's also basically just like German and French put in a blender. No, like it's fucking around.
I love that.
No, but
Actually,
it's
I love
like
Dutch. I love the Dutch language as well because, like, whenever I listen to Dutch, I'm like, that sounds really freakishly like Middle English, like English from like
so so
1200s.
so we're gonna have like some kind of language stream
Yeah,
soon when we're just on like where
it's
I'm
the May
going to
1st.
teach you. I don't know. I'm gonna teach you Dutch and you're gonna teach me Gaelic or something like
Please,
that. So.
let's do it. I need to learn before you as well. I need to learn Irish as well. I'd say like one lesson ahead of you, and then we'll be able to we'll be able to make this
Mm,
happen. Sorry, here we go off on a tangent,
yeah,
off into space.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's how it's gonna go.
Yep.
This is just life now. Uh, but like basically it's about not like before people would get money from the government to study. How do you call that? Like I completely lost the word.
They get money to
Like I was,
study, but we don't have that over here. I mean,
yeah, like
a grant, I suppose. You get a
oh,
grant. You get a student grant in Ireland.
yeah,
So
something like that. Like study budget. That's called a study budget or
sti-
something like that.
s- stipend, maybe they say stipend in some countries. Is that a thing? I'm gonna have to Google that.
Well, yeah,
Stipend.
everyone like at home knows what we're talking about now. So
Yeah, some sort of grant anyway.
what this campaign, like this union campaign, wants that it comes back, like 700 euros for everyone. Like before it was way lower, now they want it to be way higher. So also that's one of the campaigns that we're actually supporting locally. We also support our members to do you like union organizing on the work floor. Like so if we have members that work somewhere, there are problems over there, then to unionize their work floor, and that we also like help them unionizing it. um, this is something that we really want to do. Like it happens sometimes, not often enough, but it's something that we emphasize on doing. Well, besides that, there's like the obvious like going to protests. Like locally we went to like the solidarity protest with like the women in Poland that are fighting for their rights for abortion. um, we also organize our own demonstrations against like all the capitalist measures that are being taken surrounding COVID, because it's very clear that like the government, like the state, supports the like companies over the working class. So we had a demonstration about that. Um, and yeah, besides that, we also have more fun things. Like now with COVID, it's harder to like organize an event about like the principles of communism, or like union campaigns, having like an event about solidarity with Cuba, or name it. Um, so we organized like this walk that I was talking about earlier, like with German comrades, alongside all these like places where like the Red Help like took place. And it was also like planned, because it's the Netherlands, so I have like this bicycle tour, and go alongside all these places, like in the province where I'm from, where there was a really big communist um, uh, where the Communist Party used to be pretty big. Like it used to be so big at some point that there was like this special law from the central government that could actually like fire people from the city council. Like, okay, you're out. If you're because they were like supporting striking workers with public money and stuff like that. So there's a really rich history here. Like we have like this really famous communist organizer here. Somewhere there is a statue of Lenin in the province, which is also quite interesting. And there is like a hammer and sickle land, so hammer and sickle lane, because like those councils actually could change street names and whatnot. So we were going to do that, and yeah, during COVID we also have our own live streams. So yeah, that's kind of the things that we're doing at the moment. And yeah, we also reached out to the local food banks to help them. Like during Christmas times, they were like, we have too much at the moment, but like after Christmas, so now January, February, March, we're gonna check on them again, like if they still have enough and if they need any help. Because whatever you do as a communist, you still have to serve the people.
Always.
So
always.
That's also something that we're definitely doing.
It's great to hear and very inspiring. It is difficult with COVID to manage as a communist organization because you want to be out there interacting with people. You want to be knocking on people's doors all the time, but you can't. It's there are real restrictions in terms of lockdown and stuff like that, and it's very, very difficult to get around those. So I understand the difficulty.
Yeah.
We have the same issues as well in the
communist
movement.
I forgot one very important thing. It's also like study Marxism, Leninism, and do it with comrades. That's such an important thing to do. Like me myself, I'm very distracted by everything. Like I have a pretty hard time with reading books and stuff like that. But like if you do it together as like a group, as comrades, and you're just like, okay, and in 2 weeks, read chapter 2 and 3 of this and this book, and then you kind of feel not really the pressure, but like the commitment towards your comrades. Like, okay, I'm gonna read this, and then we're gonna do it together. And then you're actually talking about it together, and everything becomes a bit easier. So yeah, you're not in it alone.
That makes a huge difference as well. For example, like I remember like trying to read Capital alone before, just Marx's Capital, and really struggling. Especially those first 3 chapters, those first 1, 2, 3, those chapters were hell. Yeah. But when I sat down and went through it with a communist discussion group, tossing the ideas back and forth with comrades, everything just became so much easier and so much clearer, and it made so much more sense. And everything, it was just like the clouds parted, and there was like a sun. The beams of sun were just shining down on me.
Well, like Marx saying, Lenin in the sky, and you were like, I understand now, comrade.
Marx and Lenin just kind of looked down at me and winked.
Yeah.
Oh my god! At that moment,
yeah, Marx is like, you thought it was a bitch to read. It was even a bigger bitch to fucking write.
Oh my god!
I don't know what these people think. No idea.
Yeah,
I don't know.
we
Yeah,
struggled for
well,
a few weeks.
matter.
We struggled for a few weeks. He struggled for years and years and years. He didn't even finish Capital.
Mm,
Yeah, the third volume is pretty much unfinished.
uh-huh.
Thank fuck for
True.
Engels. But anyway, there we go. Off on another tangent, comrade. That's great to hear. Very inspiring. Very very interesting to hear. Why should people join your organization specifically? Why should people join the CJB specifically? So what now? This is the big moment where we're finally getting back to. We're circling around talking about why people should join Marxist-Leninist organizations and not social democratic or like Trotskyist organizations or whatever it might be. So why excuse me the
Yeah.
CJB?
Well, like at least in the Netherlands, I think that like the communist youth movement and like the Dutch Communist Party is the most serious about actually building a party uh, for the working class
Mm,
to be the vanguard of the working class. Like you have like the Trotskyists, like they're not really building a party. They're not. Yeah, they're organizing demonstrations and selling newspapers because that's what they do. And you have like the Maoists. They also organize demonstrations, and they have like a lot of solidarity stuff with like comrades from the third world. That's also fine and dandy. And you have like the Social Democrats, and the Social Democrats are just like in the parliament, like doing bourgeois shit. So if you're genuine about wanting to overthrow capitalism, about wanting to have the dictatorship of the proletariat, about wanting to have like socialism, communism, there is only one place you can really be, and that's just a Marxist-Leninist party. And like I said earlier, like every hour that you're putting in, like for instance a social democratic party, just wasting your time, like, and then you're like me, then you're six years later, you're like, okay, and now I'm going to join a communist party, because I was also like in like doubting, like, should I like join a communist, should I join a socialist? And I was like, yeah, at some point just fucking join the Communist Party, man. Like, join the Marxist-Leninist. Like,
you're not
it's
gonna
more
regret it.
necessary than ever. Like, it's not just about um, being genuine about the wanting to overthrow capitalism, but like this system is also like it has us in the chokehold. Like all these problems that we have, like that what young people are facing. Like 0-hour contracts, temporary contracts, low
Mm,
wages. Also in the Netherlands, having a youth wage, that when you're 18 years old, that you earn like half of what someone earns when you're 21. So imagine this: you're done
mm,
studying at 18. You want to live on your own. Have your own apartment. You want to have. You want to be able to pay the rent, to pay the bills. You just can't. You just can't. And you also don't know in half a year if you still have the job that you're working at. At the beginning of the month, you don't know how much money you're going to earn. And you also need to go to the gym to look good. And you need to do this. And you need to do this. Like, there's all this shit that you need to do. And it's also no fucking wonder that you like read in the newspaper that there is like all these young people that are having like burnouts and they're having depressions. Like, capitalism like just like shoves us down this fucking path of like, I wanted to say misery, which it kind of
mm.
is.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and if you want to get out of that, if you want to get out of that misery, and if you don't want to feel bad about being fucked by the system every day, then yeah, join the fucking Communist Party and do something about it. Like, get in touch with comrades that think about it the same way as you do, and just go. No,
Yes.
because those rental prices, they're not going to get lowered by itself. Like, your student debt is not going to disappear um, out of nothing. Like, there's food banks, in one of the like richest countries on the fucking planet. They're not going to disappear out of thin air. Like, no, you need to do something about it. So get involved with the Communist Party. Because this fucking system is not going to abolish itself. It needs a strong vanguard party, and if you consider yourself to be a communist, join it, help build it, and go for it, man. Like, I would happily welcome you within our ranks. Like, I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Amazing, and I do recommend to any comrades who are in the Netherlands to go and check that out. And something that you said there really touched a nerve with me. I thought it was really important what you said when you talked about like wasting time, wasting your time. Not only does joining a social democratic or insincere socialist organization waste your time personally as an individual, it
Mm.
wastes our time as a class. It's a betrayal of our class, of our time as a class, as a unified class. Because we don't have time to fuck around. Homeless people are dying
Yeah,
on the streets. Our class can't
definitely.
afford to fuck around with social democracy, right? And look, the thing is, if you join one of these organizations, you might get involved with a lot of activism. You might tail a bunch of protests, just jump from protest to protest to protest to protest, just following whatever the popular sentiment is at every moment. But you're not actually fighting to bring about a new socialist state. You're not actually fighting to bring about a dictatorship of the proletariat. And you're going to find yourself getting burnt out doing something that ultimately upholds capitalism.
Exactly.
You're going to burn
Exactly.
yourself out and you're fucking over your class by doing this. So don't do it. Don't waste your time. It does a disservice to our class, disservice to all of us, and it does a disservice to yourself. Don't fucking waste your time. Get involved with a real, genuine Marxist Leninist, or if you've got a good Marxist Leninist Maoist organization, a good communist organization is what you need. Get in there. A good anti-revision that doesn't fuck around, not one of these fucking Khrushchevite sort of organizations that is basically just social democratic in reality, but a genuine revolutionary communist organization. Get in there, get out, get active, and make it happen. So important.
Yeah, amen to that, brother.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, and so I suppose on that note, there's another point that we need to address. Because it's not only just about bringing about socialism. We are also
Mhm.
fighting capitalism, but we're not only fighting capitalism. We're also fighting the far right. Which I think is something that's really growing as well in the Netherlands. Now we'll circle back to that a little bit in a while, but there's a lot of conditions that we're struggling with at the moment, especially as young people. We've got this allure of the far right offering solutions, but at the same time, we're also struggling to pay rent. We've got these
Yeah.
horrific working contracts, if we can even get a contract. A lot of the time we just don't have them. We've got informal positions. Do you want to maybe speak a little bit about the struggles specifically of young people? And let's focus in on the Netherlands at the moment. We can probably link it to the wider struggles internationally afterwards. But what are the particular struggles of young people in the Netherlands that you see in front of you?
Yeah, it's kind of what I said before. Like that there is this problem with not knowing that when you're going, like how much you're going to earn by the end
Mm,
of the month because you have a 0-hour contract. You don't know if you're gonna have work in half a year because you have like this temporary contract. So you just don't know. Like you have this like global insecurity, and then you also don't know about the next upcoming crisis.
mm,
Like
yeah.
every 10, 12 years, there's like this capitalist crisis. Things are gonna get worse. Then there is like low wages or like rental prices. And I think like if there are any comrades in the stream that live like in Amsterdam
Mm,
or like Rotterdam or something like that, then like you pay ridiculous amounts of like rental prices over there. Like it's it's just it fucks you up, like. And then
mm.
there is like this like how much student debt do people averagely have in Ireland?
Student debt is it's not as big of a thing in Ireland generally. You'd probably get about maybe between 9,000 and 12,000 euro for like a full college course. So it's not like the United States where it's like 50 to 100,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
here it's also like it's not uncommon to have like 30,000
30, three
or
zero
higher.
zero zero zero.
Yeah.
Holy
30,000.
shit! I thought the Netherlands had free third level education. Maybe that's
Now
maybe
this is the problem.
Germany. Maybe Germany.
Like I mean, that's not. I mean, you're definitely not the only one. But sometimes, like I'm talking to like international
Hmm,
students
hmm.
in the Netherlands, and they have like this idea that the Netherlands is like this super nice, progressive country. Everybody likes each other. Everything is free. It's basically already socialist, and
Yeah.
whatsoever. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah, there is this idea
but
that it's kind of like Sweden or Norway, or at least how we outside of Sweden or
no,
Norway
like
perceive
we
them
have
to
like
be
one of
perfect social
the
democracy.
yeah, like we have one of the harder capitalist economies actually.
Yeah.
So
Is it the worst economic? Is it the worst income inequality in the world? Maybe it's not income inequality. Maybe it's wealth inequality.
yeah, it was wealth inequality.
Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
I think
Yeah, crazy.
like I don't know for sure, but like did we overtake the US in this? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I believe so.
so
Yeah.
now you have like these big mortgages and stuff like that. But yeah, it is a big problem, and and like also not having the most progressive role, in the EU, like when it comes to like let's say punishing Southern European countries or punishing Ireland or
Yeah.
punishing Eastern European countries. Like the Netherlands is always like in the front, being like, yeah, this is I have to play by the rules and all these kinds of things, and like the people in these countries are fucking suffering. Like it was
Yeah.
um, like go to Greece, and say the name Jeroen
Yes.
Dijsselbloem out loud, and you will like the people will fucking hate you because they know exactly who that is. This Dutch social democrat on paper, let's say,
Yep.
who led like that, like the talks with like Syriza in those times, which was also like a time for me because. At some point, because you're a member like of the Social Democratic Party for a few years, and then you're like you're starting to buy into it, like, oh yeah, because what they're doing, I don't know, in Venezuela they're also doing it in a democratic way, they're also doing it Bolivia, so we can also do it here. We can and then Syriza was there, and we're like, oh, Syriza won, that's amazing. And then they had like that referendum, and I remember like being in Amsterdam, like protesting with people, like Greek people from Syriza in the Netherlands. And we were like, and then the referendum came, everyone voted no. I was like, awesome. And then they were like, fuck the referendum, and we're gonna do it anyway. And also at that moment, like the Socialist Party in the Netherlands chose the side of Syriza. And that's where I already started to be like, nah, this ain't right. This ain't right in any. Also, like I have one like page on Google Chrome that I've opened now, which doesn't work. I'm kind of afraid that if I'm going to close it, that the whole internet closes. But I will try it anyway because else I can't see you, and I don't like not seeing who I'm talking to. So I'm just gonna try that. If I'm completely gone, then you have to like, I don't know, sing the International or something to keep.
I'm not so good at singing. I can do like a pretty mean Solidarity Forever. Now that's what I could do. Maybe it's a little bit too syndicalisty, but no, it looks good. You're still here.
I can see you.
You can still see me? Ah, great. Okay, it's probably like it's probably like a little bit of a lag, maybe like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, but
that's fine. No, it's like everything just completely froze. It was like the page is not working. I was like, oh dear.
That always happens to me, and like it happens to me on my end, like streaming through YouTube, and I'm just like, oh shit, am I still streaming? Am I still live? And I think I'm off the air, and the people are just like, no, you're still there, Paul. What the fuck? What are you doing? Freaking out.
The ghost of Comrade Stalin did not intervene in this live stream.
No censorship today.
Yeah, this is why you should join the CJB, because even the ghost of Comrade Stalin thinks that the CJB is based.
He
like
smiles down on you. Yeah, Comrade Stalin was trying to figure out whether I'm on his side or not on his side, and he was kind of like, I'm not so sure.
And now he's like, oh, okay.
All right, this is based. We can keep going with it.
Probably because you were like in this Trotskyist organization.
Oh shit, you were in PBP. All right, well, fuck this. Let me just cut you out for a few minutes. A few minutes, we'll fuck you over. We'll bring you back in about 10 minutes, but people will know. Okay, we've done it again. We've gone off on another little rant there.
But
any other big issues specific to how can I say, our generation to young people at the moment that you think can be addressed by a communist organization that maybe isn't really being addressed by mainstream so-called left organizations, the Social Democrats, the Liberals, and so on and so forth?
I think it's basically just like the class problems, like the point is like a Social Democratic Party might like talk about the problems of what young people are facing. You might have like Social Democratic Party A that says like, oh yeah, hour contracts are a problem, or the temporary contracts, or low salaries, or the thing with rent or whatsoever. But they're never like, the solution is always like, okay, then we're going to have reform A and reform B, and then we're going to do this, and but the answer is never capitalism. That's the reason, that's the reason why the rent is so fucking high. It's capitalism that is the reason that there is like this incentive in the bourgeoisie to have 0-hour contracts and temporary contracts, and that we're not getting paid enough. It's not just because there are not enough reforms. No, it's because of the system, and you're never going to get rid of it without getting rid of this system. So you need to get rid of it. And I think that's the main thing that we are offering young people that like bourgeois parties are not offering. And it's like fundamentally breaking with capitalism, with the free market, with the bourgeois state. I think that would be pretty much it.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to challenge the system. If you're not challenging the system, you're not actually dealing with the problem. You're just putting a bandage over it.
And also really doing it, not just saying that you're challenging the system, actually doing it, and have the right ideas in challenging that system, and not just say that you want to, I don't know, democratize the economy or democratize the planning of the economy of, I don't know. When we want to break with capitalism, it needs to go, the economy and the state, and we're going to build something new. That's what it should be about. Because it's also like sometimes like what social democrats say, like, yeah, okay, like we already fought for that, the state is democratic now, everyone can vote, that's really nice. So if we democratize, whatever that's supposed to mean, democratize the economy, then we're done, then we pretty much have socialism. And it's like, yeah, if you put in your party manifesto that you're aspiring towards socialism, and this is your socialism, then yeah, okay, I can understand it. But that's not socialism, that's social democracy. It's even worse than like classic social democracy. Like, like they even Kautsky was more radical than like these guys nowadays. Like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're 100% right. There's this kind of redefining of socialism that happens with a lot of these social democratic parties. We have the same thing in Ireland, like with the Labour Party in Ireland, who, when Jeremy Corbyn was kind of rising to prominence there, maybe last year, the year before, whenever it was. And people were really excited about the Irish Labour Party as a result, thinking that this was kind of the same thing, that it would. The Labour organisation had kind of taken more of a hard left, the hard left of social democracy, a hard left kind of turn towards something that approximates actual socialism. But no, if you look at like the Labour Party in Ireland, it's their version of democratic socialism. What they talk about is just neoliberalism. It's neoliberalism, but with some socially liberal, progressive politics, progressive social politics, and this kind of thing. It's very middle class, what they call, champagne socialism. And this is a problem. We need to be clear that we want working class power, real working class power, as in a working class state.
Also calling capitalism what it is. Capitalism.
Call it by its
name. I'm not saying that you're ideologically not okay or something, but like there's also like these social democrats, they always say neoliberalism.
That's right.
Neoliberalism or neoliberal capitalism or whatsoever. No, the problem is not neoliberalism. This so-called neoliberalism is like a symptom of capitalism. It's just capitalism going back to what it really is. Like the socialist, the Eastern European socialist countries, they're gone, they're overthrown. Like capital can do whatever the fuck they want in the whole world at the moment. So we're gonna see that all our rights that we fought for in the times of social democracy in the West, they're also like disappearing. And that's not something new. That's not neoliberalism or neo-capitalism. That's just capitalism back in its rawest form. Its most inhumane form.
Exactly.
So to say like, yeah, we're gonna abolish neoliberal capitalism. Yeah, what you're gonna replace it with social democratic capitalism, because that's still capitalism. And 50 years from now, or even less, you're gonna take it away from you again. Like, at least with socialism, you have to fight over it before you can take back state power. Instead of just like, oh, new government, undo the reforms in 5 years and we're done.
Yeah, this is a massive problem that we see with even the genuinely well-meaning social democratic organizations. It's just 4 years of progress and then 4 years fascism.
Yeah, I know, but it's also like not having like a long-term plan.
That's right. Yeah, you're not moving towards communism. You're not slowly advancing towards it.
We have this manifesto for the coming 4 years. Vote for us.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. But not, where do we want to stand in 20 years? Yeah. Where do we want to stand in 40 years? What do we think that socialism is? What should we aspire to?
Yeah.
These things are just like questions that are never answered.
Yeah.
And I think those are the kinds of questions that we can answer as Marxist Leninist parties. And I'm not saying that everyone is doing that in the perfect way, or that there's nothing to gain here, but we have the potential to actually do it. So we'll do it.
Absolutely. Get involved, comrades. Get involved. Join a Marxist-Leninist organization and bring about socialism. Let's actually fucking do this in our lifetimes. Don't fuck around. This is actually another issue as well that I think some socialist organizations, communist organizations, definitely the Trotskyist organizations that I've been involved with have, where when we talk about socialism is always this far off, distant, mystical future that's going to happen at some point. There's never any real preparation for, we're actually going to try and have socialism by within the next 10 years or the next 20 years or the next 30 years or whatever it might be. It's always like, no, at some point we'll get there, and at some point, yeah, maybe there'll be some kind of uprising or some kind of revolution or some kind of even insurrection or something like that, but we're not going to talk about that now. We're not going to deal with that now, and we're definitely not going to prepare for that now. Like, we're not going to get like organized and militant and actually ready to defend ourselves and defend our class and defend our revolution.
Like these proper plans, like exactly. This is how we're going to build our organization, this is how we're going to build the movement, this is what we should do, like getting involved in the workplace, at the place you work, and organize people there. And like building a base, like doing all these things. It's so important.
Absolutely, yeah, no, 100%.
I just hear you typing, and
there's a comrade. I apologize, comrade. There's a good question in the chat there. Actually, just one of the comrades, Elijah Hammond, has just asked something that I think is quite relevant. Elijah asks, how much theory should we read before joining a party? And this is a really, really good question. Well, as much as you can, but that's not a big deal, because if you're in a good, competent communist organization, education is going to be essential. They're going to hold your hand and walk you through that, like with you, hand in hand. And so don't worry about it. There's going to be good, strong education, as you've said today, Siewert. Your organization does a lot of work on the educational front. You're still continuing that now. I assume through like Zoom calls or different kind of live streams and so on and so forth. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and especially with like youth organizations as well. Like youth organizations. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's like babbling all over the place, but
that's all I do.
Just get involved. Like, I mean, if you have time to read things on your own, then by all means, like, I'm not gonna say you shouldn't. But if you actually join an organization, then they're gonna hold your hand. They're gonna get you through the most important steps and the most important books. And like in where I'm from, we also have we have a meeting, and then after the meeting, we're talking about chapter 5 and 6 of State and Revolution, just saying stuff. But like that's pretty much how it works. Like, it's not like you want to join like the Communist Party or like the Communist Youth Movement or the Connolly Youth Movement, and that there is like some kind of, I don't know, guy in a military police suit that's gonna check how much you have read, and if you didn't read State and Revolution or What's to Be Done or I don't know Capital or any other classic works, that you're not allowed, like, no, of course like one of the main things that we should do is like to um, like help these younger comrades to become more familiar with Marxism, Leninism, and the theory and the books and everything.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's a process. Look, nobody's there. It can be a little bit intimidating getting involved with these organizations because maybe young comrades are expecting that everybody is like a master of the five heads of communism. We've all read Marx, Engels, Lenin, Stalin, Mao. We know every single text like the back of our hands. Like we can recite it off backwards. Do you 50 times? Easy over, no big deal. But that's just not true. It's all a process of learning and growing and developing, learning from and learning
100%.
with comrades. So don't worry, everybody is on this journey of, I suppose, learning and unlearning a lot of the bourgeois capitalist lies that we are inculcated with growing up under bourgeois capitalist systems. So it's always a process of developing and growing, and never feel uncomfortable or nervous or I don't know, worried about that, because we're all learning, we're all growing and developing, and never be afraid to admit that like you were wrong or to say, oh shit, I didn't realize that before, because there's always going to be a need for moments of like self-crit and rectification of incorrect views that you had in the past. I mean, this is what we do as communists as part of the dialectical process, we're always challenging each other and trying to work towards getting the correct line. And none of us have it. We don't have all the answers just right here, right now. I mean, Marx didn't have all
Like
the answers,
there will be members within the organization that you will meet that are like, I don't know, walking Marxist, Leninist encyclopedias, and you will be like, how the hell did you get that in
Yeah,
your
that's
head?
right.
Like it's ridiculous, like for instance, I'm also writing for Forwards, our online news, like our youth magazine. Sometimes I'm writing something, I'm reading it, I'm like, that's pretty good, like, and then so another comrade reads it, it's like, I would change this or that. Another comrade is like, maybe change that or that, and then the guy, like this Chad Marxist Leninist master, like the end boss, comes, changes half of your article, tells you exactly why, and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Based.
So even though, I mean, like I've been let's say then a communist for quite some years, I've read my Marx, my Engels, my Lenin, Stalin, Mao, and other writers. You will keep on learning, and you will keep on learning until it's over, like
that's right. Yeah, it's always
it's
process.
how it is.
Always.
Yeah,
and like we can never stagnate, like it's not as though, we mentioned like the five heads of communism, we brought ourselves up to Mao, but I mean there's been probably 40-50 years of theory that's been worked on since then by Marxist-Leninists and Marxist-Leninist Maoists since that point, people who are developing revolutionary theory, and through praxis in many cases, so I think it's really important that we keep an open mind. I mean, theory didn't stop. We still need to deal with the material conditions as they present themselves to us right now, right here. And you're never going to stop learning. So don't worry about it. You might talk to people. You might talk to people who are incredibly politically aware of what's going on, like right now, where you are, what's going on, like with your government. They might not have a clue about like Marxist theory or the five heads of communism or anything like that. They might not know about that, but they might have a good idea of what's going on right now. There might be the opposite, where you have people who are masters of theory. Chad, as you said, like boss level Chad, Marxist-Leninists, who know absolutely everything about the five heads of communism, but they might not have a fucking clue about what's going on right now, where you are. Yeah. And the thing is, like, it's always developing.
There are people that are like extremely good at theory. They have no idea what to do with it.
Yep.
There's people that are maybe a little bit weaker on theory, but they an idea of strategy, like how should we do it, how should we present ourselves, like all these kinds of things. Like everyone will do its part within the party, and that's just important to remember. And what's also important to remember, I mean, I don't know how old this comrade is, but let's say a random comrade who is 18 years old. I'd rather have like a comrade that doesn't know too much about Leninism at the moment, that joins us and just goes along with it, that has like brilliant ideas about struggle, that wants to help organizing people, than some guy that really knows everything or thinks he knows everything and just stays on the sideline.
Absolutely.
You know, like, and
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, but I'm not going to join this Marxist-Leninist party because, you know, there was like this thing that happened in the Soviet Union in 1938 on this day at this time that I don't agree with, so I'm not gonna. No, fuck that. You know, like, join us. Will help you get through the whole process of learning theory. And if you're genuine about it, people appreciate it. They will not make fun of you.
Of course.
Quite on the contrary, they will help you. And you know, every comrade is welcome if you're genuine about the working class struggle.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and as you said, you know, I mean, there are these armchair communists who know everything about happened in every single thing that happened in 1927 USSR, and they'll have these critiques and so on and so forth. But
they also they have like this super niche criticisms about everything.
Yeah.
You know, like about this organization or that revolution, and this wasn't right, and they didn't do that in the right way, and
yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. You know,
Yeah,
like,
of course, yeah. I mean, and
to
like
be
it's
quite
it's
honest,
like
I'm also not. Yeah. I'm also not the guy that is like the chat. I've read everything and I understand it. I'd like to. I'm working on it, definitely. But yeah, sometimes you're also just with a group and you're like, dude, you're super good at theory. I'm pretty good at organizing. What if I like make a plan for like the thing that I think is a good idea to be doing, and then you can check it if it's like ideologically okay, you know, and then you both do what you're good at.
yeah.
Life in general. Some people are good at one thing, some people are good at the other, and as long as you work together and you show solidarity and you show compassion, you'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that is a problem. You kind of touched on this kind of, I suppose, ultra leftist tendency to make good the enemy of perfect. You know, just because a certain revolution or revolutionary moment or movement wasn't 100% perfect and they would have done something different, we discard it. But ultimately, we're all growing and developing. The working class movement is growing and developing. We're learning from these mistakes that happened historically, and we're correcting them and rectifying them. There are, of course, things to learn from our comrades who raise issues. You know, people who will raise issues about such and such a point, that such and such a thing that they did incorrectly in the USSR, and we can learn from them. We can absolutely learn from them. That's useful. But that doesn't mean we throw the baby out with the bathwater. We uphold the socialist movements, the proletarian movements, and we move forward with it. I mean, it's really important that we do that. And as you said, this person might be very, very good at theory, and they probably spend a lot of time reading, sitting at home, and they're very interested in this kind of intellectual work. Maybe they're not quite as strong. They're not quite as strong at actually going out onto your street and knocking on the doors of people's homes and talking to them about communism. Maybe they're not as strong. Maybe they're not as charismatic. Maybe they're not as good at jumping up and delivering a speech, inspiring workers. You know, and maybe that's where you step in. You know, maybe that's where you're good. You're very charismatic, or or maybe you're very good with computer skills. Maybe you know how to use Photoshop or to do some video stuff. Or
massively important.
There's so many different ways.
Thing,
exactly.
Like,
there's
so
many
many
ways to
participate.
participate.
About theory, if you don't know shit about organizing, but you're super good with Photoshop, fucking join, because that's so important. Because like if I mean, we have some pretty good Photoshop people within the CJB. Not as much as we would like to, but the people that are there, they're pretty good. But like if you open a website, if you open social media, and like the first thing that people see, like for instance with the Communist Party of the Netherlands, first thing they see is like this webpage that looks from the 90s. You're like, I'm not so sure, you know, if I want to. But if you open the website of the Communist Youth Movement and you're like, fuck yes, that's what I'm gonna join. That looks awesome, you know, like doing all these kinds of things, and they're writing all these kinds of things. And It's
I
important.
I
So
vibe very hard with what you said there. No, no, I vibe extremely hard with you. If people look up the Communist Party of Ireland, just go into the Communist Party of Ireland's website there, and it's proper like Windows 1995 stuff. And then you look at the Colony Youth Movement's website, and it just looks like a normal, modern, clean looking website. Looks pretty good, you know.
yeah, yeah, I see. I see.
We
I'm
need
not gonna
to.
say anything about my own party, but
No, yeah, sure, of course. But I mean, I
yeah,
suppose these
like
aesthetic things
we're,
do
we're
matter
young.
to an
We have that
extent.
fire, like we want to go.
Yeah,
We fucking want to go for it,
yeah.
and it's just a matter of time before the young people from the Connolly Youth Movement or the Communist Youth Movement will get into the ranks of our big brother parties, and I don't mean big brothers in 1984. That sounds a bit strange, like in English. English, that doesn't sound well. Like the wink, wink.
I see what you're doing there.
Uh,
Uh-oh.
yeah.
Orwell
So
gang.
like the our communist parties, that we will get into their ranks, and then you will see that changing gradually. But it's a process, and it'll take time, revolutionary patience, as they say.
Yes, absolutely brilliant. I really appreciate that, now, Conrad. Thank you very much. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the rise of the far right in the Netherlands and how they weaponize progressive social politics? I think this is a very interesting phenomenon, and it's pretty unique. You don't really see this happening.
Yeah.
I mean, usually the far right will sort of galvanize old school politics, but I mean, it's you have this kind of rainbow fascism happening in the Netherlands, which is really, really wild. And I mean. How do I pronounce the name? Geert Wilders, something like that. Sorry, I'm butchering it right there. But isn't his whole thing?
No, that's fine. It's fine. Like it's a very distinct sound to the language.
Well, it's we have this like if you say like Loch Ness, think about like Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
We have this sound in sort of Gaelic, speech. So it is there. It's just kind of strange for us to put it at the start of a word rather than
I can imagine. It's the same with what was it like? I was in Spain once, and I was talking to some people, and it was like the name of my city in Dutch is Groningen. And then they were like, okay, read this. And they were like, yeah, Groningen.
Groningen.
Like
That's how I'd pronounce it, yeah.
Groningen. Which is fine. But they also have this sound in Spanish now with the jota, with the J. So I like put, I like changed the word, like put jota, like the G. And they were like, Groningen. I was like, yes, you can do it, So small victory. It has nothing to do with communism, but let's continue.
There's our tangent.
Rainbow nationalism, what we were talking about. Like, always have to be a bit careful when you call a party fascist. Not like the big, like the SA is roaming the streets in the Netherlands, beating up union members or something like that. So that's not. But they are far right nationalists. I mean, you can easily say that. That's just true. So, because we have genuine in the Netherlands, and they're
you have
not,
genuine. You have like proper.
Like they're quite small, thank God. It's called like the Nationale Volksunie, so the National People's Union. They call themselves people's nationalists, but like the leader said, like, in the daily life I'm a national socialist, but in the political life I'm not allowed to do that. Okay. So we're having like this thing. But they're
so
pretty
it's the real thing. Okay, I can understand why you'd need to separate. Well, you need to make the distinction between like kind of what you might call just far right nationalists and actual full on fascists. Yeah,
it's not like they're not fucked up and not dangerous. They definitely are.
But it's a different beast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you touched upon like Geert Wilders with the whole like these progressive ideals, like within far right ideology, and with him in particular, like it's not just that he is like anti-immigrant or so, but he is like hardcore anti-Islam. Like Islam is a totalitarian ideology. It's literally in his party program. Like this other line, like for the coming elections, they made this like this manifesto. A couple of things were like, like quotation, like Jews, homosexuals, renegades, and with renegades we don't mean Kautskyist, but homosexuals, renegades, and women are often the first victims of Islamization. Unfortunately, this is also the case in the Netherlands. Like that's kind of what you meant, I think. Like it's like, yeah, vote for like this anti-Islam party if you want to save the gays. Like in a vulgar way, like, to save the homosexuals. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Save the Jews. Vote anti-Islam. That's kind of what they're saying.
What the fuck?
And he wants to have like a minister of de-Islamization and remigration. Like it's absolutely
what is this?
ridiculous.
Can I ask? I have to ask, like, this de-Islamization thing. What is? I mean, how has Islam got its grasp all over the politics, the policies,
That's the whole thing. Like there is not even
what is this?
There is not even a single like big organization that's actually changing policies or something like that. I mean, the only big group that is changing policies that is not elected is the bourgeoisie. Like those are the guys. Those are the fuckers we should like aim our whatever. Like for legal reasons I can't say it, but like to aim our things at.
In Minecraft.
So yeah, exactly. Our arrows, that's what I wanted to say. To point our arrow.
In Skyrim. In Skyrim.
Yeah, in Skyrim.
Video games. Not in real life. Gotta get us kicked off YouTube. Wouldn't say that.
On Skyrim. What were we talking about?
Shooting fascists with arrows. Semi-fascists with arrows. Let's get back on track.
Let's get back on track. No, but like also like, so on one hand they're saying like, oh, we're like this kind of culturally not even culturally progressive because they're anti-Islam. I don't know, they're kind of progressive but on an anti-Islamist way. But besides it was like, we want to invest in healthcare, we want to invest in retirement, so the age of retirement can be lowered. We want to what else did they want? Increase the minimum wage, like shit like that. So that's also in their party program. So it's really like this populist kind of thing, like taking a little bit taking some rhetoric from the left, or like taking some popular things from the left, but then with like hardcore right-wing, like anti-Islam, anti-immigrant kind of thing.
Yeah, the far right in Ireland does the same thing where they take the rhetoric of the left and they use that in their own slogans. In Ireland, we have like the far right. I'm not even going to name them by name, but they talk about like the horrors of finance capital and the elites, the international elites, and they'll even call them like the bourgeoisie. They'll target the bourgeoisie, but when they say bourgeoisie, they, for some reason, that just means
outlandish bourgeoisie, not our own bourgeoisie.
Yeah, it's not our bourgeoisie. And when they talk about finance capital, they're not talking about the same thing that we're talking about. They're talking about cabals and Jewish conspiracies and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, so it's really fucked up.
Like the big banks, like,
oh, international bankers
behind everything,
yeah. Globalists, yeah. You can't talk about international capitalists. At least you certainly can't talk about international capitalist imperialists without relating it to international bankers and cabals and all this sort of stuff. Because
all this kind of bullshit.
Well, the thing is, they know that a left-wing ideology is relevant and it touches a nerve with a lot of people when you start talking about these kinds of things, finance capital and global conspiracies and stuff like that. It's it does touch a nerve with a lot of people. They do understand that there are these global systems working against us, and they use that energy to send it off into just the most vile,
exactly. Like people know something is off.
Yeah,
like people are not stupid. They know that something is genuinely off.
Yeah,
and that matters are getting worse and worse, and people are looking for answers.
Yeah.
And that's also one of the reasons why you should like help building the Communist Party, so
Definitely.
we can provide these answers to the working class. Because if we don't do it, like Geert Wilders will,
Yep.
or like Forum for Democratie, which is another party that I will touch upon later.
Yeah, would you mind
Like
telling
they will
us?
give the answer.
I'm actually curious because
Yeah,
I don't
like
know
at
that
first,
much.
like because how this Geert Wilders dude, like it's just like an interesting fact, because he actually supported like a minority government like from 2010 until 2012, and then it was like, yeah, we're gonna get do all these beautiful things for the working class and also get rid of Islam, but he was just like supporting a minority government. This minority government, and I made a list, was like, not a very big list, but I made a list. Like cutting social benefits, like left and right, also like for young handicapped people. They increased the retirement age to 66, so they were not lowering it like he wants in his manifesto now. There were a lot of budget cuts in healthcare, cuts in education, big demonstrations all over the country. And then, yeah, you're not the opposition leader, you're just the same bourgeois capitalist politician.
Yep.
But then you hate Islam as well.
Yep.
Right? And it also involves other policies, like the Christian Democrats are also like, oh yeah, everyone should like sing the national anthem at school and stuff like that. And I'm like, what I mean, there's nothing against like singing a national anthem unless it's really from a very bad country. But like in essence, there is nothing wrong with that. But like, why don't you focus on real issues? Like,
yeah,
as you said earlier, homeless people are dying in the streets. People have to go to food banks because they literally cannot provide themselves in food. The fucking Red Cross is active in the Netherlands because there are like 25,000 people that cannot like get themselves enough food to survive. And you're talking about this. You don't set your priorities straight, man. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like when we fixed all these things, then we can talk about those kinds of things. So yeah. So to that Forum for Democratie party, because we also have this one, relatively new party that is already in crisis, but we'll touch upon that later. So they're the kind of old school nationalists. We should be proud of our heritage. We should be proud of our country and our history. So also like the 17th century, for instance, when the Netherlands was a republic, and we like raped and pillaged the world, like from Indonesia to Suriname to like all the.
But you legalized weed, so.
Yeah, so it's all perfect.
So it's okay.
No, but like these things happened, and to just say, yeah, we're proud of our history, and this was just an amazing time for our country. Yeah, for us it was, but for a lot of people it wasn't. So we should also, I mean, of course, from a certain perspective, you can say like, okay, the Netherlands was a republic. That's better than it is now. I agree with that 100%. But you cannot just say like it was a very nice time and we should like celebrate it or whatsoever. No, we should not. Besides that, it's very, I don't know, like elitist party, economically very like laissez-faire, like they're economically even more right-wing than like our more or less conservative party, if you can compare it to anything. So, and everything is left-wing in their eyes. India is left-wing, and the parties are left-wing.
Oh, right. They're all communists. Yeah, our far right does that as well.
They're like everything is left-wing.
Yeah.
Everything that is not like right-wing, nationalist, anti-immigration is left-wing. Yeah. If you're not for border control, you're left-wing. If you're, like all these hilarious things, and like they were even like once with like these it's a thing called like geen style, where they're not the biggest fan of communism, let's say. And like he was like the leader of this party was like interviewed there, and at some point that the interviewer was getting quite critical. And then like the leader said, yeah, okay, well, why are you critical? Like you have to choose sides. Like it was some kind of holy war that we were like in the middle of, and we have to choose sides because all the media is left wing, and they, they're like supporting this big left wing conspiracy to, I don't know, destroy our proud nation, like all these kinds of, like, and not exactly in those words, but yeah, that's what he means,
Of course, yeah.
like, ridiculous things like going back to like classic architecture, like
this
I
fucking
mean, the only
classic
reason that like this
architecture thing, I
classic
swear to
architecture was so beautiful is because only very rich people could live in it, afford it, and build it. So
exactly.
the
plebs.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who would be us?
What do you want? I mean, if we
Didn't get to
could
enjoy
like
that.
have a system where like working class would like live in these I don't know, like neo-Gothic cathedrals, beautiful, would be class,
Yeah, it would be fucking deadly. I'd love it, but
yeah, that would be amazing. But
someday maybe.
financially, it's a bit harder to accomplish.
Yeah, maybe when we get full communism, we can get to work on it. But
yeah, like fully automated,
luxury.
communism. When everybody is sipping champagne in their yacht, then.
Yeah, maybe like 2023, 2024, like distant future.
Something like that, maybe 24 and a half, who knows, depends.
Yeah. Probably like August 2024.
Yeah. My agenda, if I have any free days in that year, like, it'll be fun. like getting your Trabant, in 10 years.
What's Trabant? Trabant. It sounds like
East
French or
German
something.
car, man.
It's what? East German car.
Maybe this is neat. East German car, like the Lada of East Germany.
I didn't know about that. How do I spell that?
Okay. Trabant.
Okay, let me look it up here. Trabant. Oh, yes. It looks like a box of cereal. I love it. I love this.
So,
or like a
this is like this. Yeah. Classic. They're very cute cars.
Yeah, they're very cute. They've got eyes on the front of them. But anyway, tangent.
Yeah. Back to far right extremism, from Trabant to far.
Yes.
In 5 minutes. Join
Real
the stream,
shit.
guys. But like to get on a serious note again, like this guy, like the way he talks and writes about women, like women have less ambition. It's normal for a woman to be a little bit lefty, like they're stupid or something. Like the guy even went as far to writing like saying that women kind of enjoy being raped.
Jesus.
Like even though they physically resist, and they often even have an orgasm, and you don't have to like play around with the clitoris or whatsoever. No, you can just.
Jesus.
It's just like they like to be handled rough. That's kind of. And I was just.
Oh boy.
Yeah, some really just like
progressive Netherlands.
Really reactionary shit.
Yeah.
Super reactionary shit. And then there was like lately there was like this scandal because they had a couple of Nazi sympathizers in the youth organization, and it was like they had like these whistleblowers that said like, do you look at all these, all the chats here when people are talking about Hitler and about the Jews and about all these kinds of things? And what did the party do? They like excluded like the whistleblowers from the party. They kicked out the people that like the whistleblowers from the party, and they kept the guys that did like, so yeah, internally we're going to talk about this, and that's pretty much is. And because of this, the party also already has split. So only one election old, and it already split, which is amazing. Like the more the right wing splits, the better for us, of course. But this is some pretty fucked up shit, like also immediately supporting like the whole thing that happened at the Capitol, in the US.
Oh, the US recently, yeah.
And he also was immediately like, yeah, fight for our freedom and blah blah blah. So yeah, that's kind of the tale with the far right in the Netherlands. And if you want to show another story, another narrative on the world for these young people that are looking for an alternative, and I'm not talking about like the deeply like racist, sexist, like they're gone, you lost them. Like these people that are just looking for an alternative and that can't find it anywhere, so they're attracted to like these far right, ludicrous ideas.
And do they have much support, especially young people?
Excuse me, like what did you say?
Sorry, do they have much support, especially among young people?
Yeah, I think like Forum for Democratie, at some point they had like the biggest youth or like political youth organization in the Netherlands. I don't know how much that is now, but like at some point they had like this momentum and they were really big. And yeah, I don't know, like it's very like alt-right kind of boys that are joining a lot, like this I can't get a girlfriend because of feminism kind of guys, you almost feel sorry for them in a way.
Yeah. Poor
Dude, like,
guys.
yeah, but they joined the wrong organization, so no, but
Yep.
they definitely did.
Yep.
But
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah, like and we're not going to beat them with protests or with like just writing about how bad they are, but we're only going to beat them if our organization becomes bigger and stronger and more popular amongst the working class. Like it's the only way we're going to beat them. So that's what we'll have to do. And that's the thing that we're aspiring to do.
So join up, comrades. To everybody in the chat there who's curious or comrade curious, then please get involved because it's the only way. It's the only way we can win. Yeah. So get involved. You'll find a link, by the way, to anyone who's curious. You'll find the link in the description box below this. At the moment, to our comrades' website. I'm sure you can find our comrades over on social media, probably on Twitter, Facebook, all these sorts of places. There are social media sites. Is that correct, comrade?
Sorry, what did you say? I was like reading the comments, so they already.
This always happens, doesn't it? You start looking at the comments, and you're just like, oh, okay, what's that person's record? Social media. Do you have like a Facebook, Twitter that we can follow?
It's also like CJB and then Communistische Jongerenbeweging. And then you can also find like the local part, like pages from Groningen, Brabant, Noord-Holland, Zuid-Holland, like all these things.
Great. I'll have to get a few of those links off you, and then after this chat's over, I'll pop them into the description box below. We actually forgot to do that, but we'll update this after, and we'll make that happen. Brilliant, comrade. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Really, really interesting stuff. Scary stuff as well. Seeing the far right gaining so much support, and but it is interesting seeing the different manifestations of the far right as it appears with the sort of Geert Wilders.
Oh, that was perfect.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yes, I speak Dutch. No big deal. Then, like there's this one strand of rainbow nationalism, and then there's the Forum for Democracy. Probably butchered that as well. And it's really interesting to see, and we got to be aware of the many different forms that the far right can take. So thank you very much for elucidating that for us. Are you okay with answering a few Q&As before we
Yeah, definitely. Like I already saw some pretty good questions left and right. So
great. Was there a question that jumped out to you that you would like to take first, or will I?
I've taken out a few. Not really yet, but cool. Yeah, just pick a few where you think is like.
Yeah, great. Okay, cool. So we'll try to get through what we can. Yeah, if it's at all possible. Comrade Space Babies asked. I can't pronounce this at all. Space Babies asks thoughts on revolutionaire Eenheid. There you go. That's the one. Any thoughts on
they're the Maoists. I can see why. That's why I knew, because when Space Babies asked for it. Yeah. So Revolutionaire Eenheid. I know them personally, not all of them. A couple of them I know. They're not bad comrades in my opinion. Mostly based in the bigger cities, so Amsterdam, Rotterdam, The Hague. Yeah, I don't know. They're not really a party. I think with like a party with a youth organization with like a central committee and things like this. Mostly doing like demonstrations and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't have any hate towards them. So they're just doing their own thing, like a lots of solidarity stuff with the third world, which is good. Like I think they have pretty close ties with the people from the Philippines. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't endorse joining them over the communist youth movement, obviously.
For obvious
Um,
reasons, yeah.
but yeah, also just because we're like organized in the whole country, and also really putting focus on organizing the Dutch working class.
Mm. Mm.
Uh, so yeah, I don't have a very strong opinion about them, to be honest.
Mm. Thank you
Also,
very
just
much.
because I really do not dislike the people that are involved with it. So.
Mm. Mm. Thank you very much, comrade. It is difficult often to find out a lot about Maoist organizations in any country. It's kind of the same thing where I'm at. And I think that's kind of by necessity as well, because a lot of Maoist work, of course, there is mass work there, but there's also a lot of, what we might call clandestine kind of work that goes on there. So, it's the kind of thing that maybe we can't speak about quite so openly. They can't communicate quite so openly, and it can be difficult to find out what's really going on there unless you're kind of in the know. And even if you do know what's going on, it's not really the sort of thing that you can usually talk about in these kinds of spaces a lot of times. So
yeah,
just due
it's
to the
also
nature of
because I was
revolutionary
just like
activity.
scrolling through the like the comments, and it's also like, yeah, what's your opinion about Vrije Bond, for instance, which is like an anarchist organization? Yeah, I'm not super familiar with them because they're mostly based in the bigger cities. Like in where I'm from, it practically doesn't exist. Like the only anarchists that we have here, they call themselves autonomous anarchists. Like I asked them once, like, so which organization are you with? They're like, yeah, we're autonomous.
Mm.
Then I'm like, okay, then you're not gonna get everything done probably, so you're not gonna get anything organized. So yeah,
Mm. Mm.
I don't know. Like I don't. I'm not just here speaking for myself. I'm also here as the
As a
CGB.
representative, yeah.
So I'm not really going to attack other revolutionary organizations or to very I don't know, strong opinions about them.
Mm.
Um, so I'd rather not do that.
Yeah, sure,
To be
absolutely,
honest.
and I hope that comrades will respect that. I think it's important that we have sort of revolutionary discipline when it comes to these kinds of issues. Because
Yeah, like
for
where we
various
can
reasons.
work together, we will work together, even though we have our differences.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
That's just, I think, what like we will not, I don't know, attack each other on demonstrations, or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they do their thing,
definitely.
we do our thing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it.
Definitely. Thank you, comrade. Ben Totes asks, I wonder, well, more of a comment slash question. I wonder if there's already been a Marxist-Leninist analysis of the famous tulip crisis. Wasn't this kind of like the Bitcoin? It was like the Bitcoin of back in the day, where there was like
Yeah,
this
I
speculation
get what you're
thing, and then
talking
there
about.
was a massive crash, and everyone was like, "It's going to be worth 100 million by next week," and then it was worth nothing like the
I don't
day
know. I think
after.
like the only tulip crisis I know about is like the crisis I had when I found out that tulips are actually from Turkey and not from the Netherlands. So kind of our whole
Motherfuckers.
nation is one lie. It's the same with like we have like this deep fried thing with ragu on the inside called croquette, which is actually from France. Like
Ah, fuck off. No
it's
way.
just
Next, you're going to tell me that
it's
pizza
just
isn't from
nothing.
Italy.
Yeah,
What?
like
It's from
pasta is
Greece?
actually from Asia. Like what? No, like,
What?
Italians going mad in the chat now.
Yeah, upsetting
Jesus
everybody
Christ.
now. Oh, fuck. How
Yeah,
disappointing.
okay. It's just like
Hey, you have those stroopwafels though, don't you? I mean, stroopwafels are pretty good. Is that on
stroopwafels. Yeah, man.
yeah, on a
Those
coffee?
those are definitely.
Oh, let them melt over the coffee. Just put them on the top of the lid. Just
Dude, if you want a few, I will send them to you. Like no problem.
fucking please do. Holy shit, I love those things
Problem.
so much. I
Like
searched
after
for
the
them
whole
far and wide.
COVID thing, we should just like hang around. Like you should come
Eat
here. I will come
stroopwafels.
there.
Yes.
We are.
So much
Oh,
yes.
by the way, like we have this. I mean, you're not coming to the Netherlands for like an Irish pub or something, but we have like this lovely Irish pub in Groningen, and like the owner is like this Irish guy, Peter. I don't think he's watching, but if you're watching, Peter,
Comrade
fucking
Peter.
love you. Like you can always use the pub for like events and stuff like that, like before COVID. So that's just like absolutely brilliant that we can do that. It's really
Mm, It's great.
really cozy little place, so
Yeah.
where you can go.
Brilliant. Great. Yeah, there's a lot of Irish pubs all over the world. And there was fun places to touch in with. So yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do that at some stage. Get some stroopwafels and enjoy some Guinness. Although, a little bit of a tough love here. I'm sorry, but the Guinness in the Netherlands that I've tried before,
Oof.
it hasn't lived up to the standard that one would expect.
No?
Actually, the Guinness
I can't.
anywhere outside of Ireland is horrific. Don't touch it. It's terrible. Don't touch it. It's fuck, and it's so expensive. It's like double the price.
Even, I mean that now I'm like entering some really dangerous waters. But like even when I was in England, the Guinness already tasted better, and that's in England.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit closer, so there's not as much preservatives and stuff like that. So yeah,
Shouldn't
it's
compare the
not
two in any way, of course, but
not in 2020
yeah, like
anyway.
so I'm dying to find out how the Guinness tasting. Where are you from again? Like Cork or
Dublin, yeah. So come on
Dublin.
over, hang out with
Yeah.
Conley Youth Movement, drink some Guinness, some genuine, authentic Irish pubs.
Already looking forward to it.
You bring the
looking forward to
stroopwafels, and I'll bring the Guinness.
Truffles, like the salty black sweets that we have that everyone hates. It's not from the Netherlands. I'll bring those as well.
Salty black.
Drop.
What are they called?
Drop.
Drop.
It's like drop, like drop it.
Yeah.
Like drop.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's
it's like a hard thing.
it's kind of it's candy, but it's salty and it's black.
Huh. Hey, just don't bring any of those fucking herrings.
Like, oh, nice sweets, and then they eat and like, oh my god, there's just salt. Like.
just no fish, and we'll get along just fine.
No, you don't like the deep fried fish or
something? Oh, Jesus Christ! You know those things that the
also
street.
Not a big fan of fish.
In Amsterdam, they have like the vendors, the little streetcar things, and I think it's herring, isn't it? Is that the big one they sell?
Yeah.
Herring, yeah.
Oh. Herring, yeah.
Oh, I'm terrified.
Like that with some.
No, I've never tried it. I can't. I never will. I never.
Oh, you never? No. Okay. It depends. Like if we are still alive after the COVID pandemic, and that the variant of that virus that you've got going on in those islands of yours don't come too much towards. I mean, I'm joking about it, but it's really bad.
It's really bad. Yeah.
But like,
fucking hell. I mean, the only worst thing I can imagine than fucking dying of COVID is eating herring. So keep them to fucking self. I swear to God. If I survive COVID just to end up eating fucking herring in the Netherlands, it's not gonna be worth it.
Tomorrow, like this long of a letter will be sent to like the Central Committee of the Conley Youth Movement that we're never going to do this again for insulting our national heritage.
Disaffiliation.
Yeah.
I apologize. For the sake of international relations, I have to redact my previous statement about herring. But the people know. The people know the truth. Sorry, comrade. Okay. Oh my god. Come here to me. Another comrade. This is... Now, I don't actually know much about this. I think this is more of a US thing. Elijah Hammond asks, Paul, any thoughts on the Gravel Institute? Gravel. I think that's more of a US thing, combating like PragerU and stuff like that. I'm not sure. Do you know anything about that, comrade?
No.
You don't?
Actually, never heard of it. Like, maybe I'm just not following the news enough.
Yeah.
Could be.
I think it's let me pull up something here. Yeah, it's a progressive think tank. Yeah, YouTube, Twitter. Yeah, okay. So no, I don't know much about it. I think I might have seen.
Not really deep into the whole left book, left truth kind of. I mean, I know. I kind of like I found like your channel, Paul, and then like through your channel, I was like, oh, there's like Socialist One, and there is Ugopnik, and there is like this, and there's that, and blah blah blah, and Space Babies, and then I was like, oh, that's awesome, So, but yeah, I don't know too much about it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I'd have pretty much a pretty similar perspective. I don't know that much about this Gravel Institute. Seems to be kind of like a liberal thing in the US, a US liberal thing, combating PragerU and stuff like that. But I don't know that much. I don't know that much about it, so I can't give a proper take on it. Another question from Matthew Calise is, ask your comrade what his thoughts are on council communism, and in particular Panic.
Anton Pannekoek.
There you go.
Lenin wrote a real good book about, like the linkse stroming. What was it? Like God, the book about Lenin, from Lenin, about the infantile disease. I
Oh
forgot.
yeah. Left-wing
The,
communism and infantile
just
disorder.
like
Yeah.
then they also about council communism and stuff like that.
Mm.
Um, I know absolutely no one in the Netherlands that actually affiliates themselves with that. I also don't know too much about it, and I only know like what is important, like at this moment, to join in the Netherlands. It's definitely not anything like council communism, Anton Pannekoek. Those are kind of things like from the last century, like beginning of the 20th century. Um, I've read something about it a long time ago, but and I'm not that deep into like theory that I know all these people, So
Mm. 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 Yeah, no, I don't know that much about
basically just
this.
left communism.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know that much about council communism. I to be honest, whenever I try to look into like council communism, it kind of just seems to be almost identical to anarcho-syndicalism,
Mm.
but with a little bit more tolerance of hierarchy and a little bit more tolerance of centralization rather than ultra decentralized. Everything needs to be decentralized, like down to almost like the individual, as where like some people on the extreme libertarian end of things would fall. So I mean, like I don't know. I mean, as like you said, I don't know anybody who follows this ideology in real life. I've never actually met a council communist, so I can't.
No,
Um,
and it's also like it sounds nice.
yeah,
It's a interesting theory. But like, yeah, council communism is theory, Marxism Leninism is praxis. Like it's actually, we can see like it was tried. There were states that were based on Marxism Leninism.
yeah.
um, you can have your analysis about this, whether it worked, whether it did work, whether it didn't work, whether it was good or bad, but it actually existed. And all these other things, they just didn't, like, except for Maoism, that also existed, of course.
Mm,
uh, and it still exists in the Philippines, of course.
mm,
Uh, but
that's right.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's tried and tested. It works. It's not perfect, of course. We know there are issues, but we're working on developing those things.
if it was
Unfortunately,
perfect, it still would have existed. So of
yeah.
course we have to like analyze where mistakes were made and not repeat them.
Mm.
Obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Fully agree. Thank you very much. Yeah, there was another question about council communism. Actually, two people asked the same question: Matthew Calise and Norwin Siewert. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but yeah, basically council communism and this fellow Panakuk. Another question from Nathan Drake coming in now. Could you ask Comrade Siewert about the relationship between Dutch imperialism and racism in the Netherlands?
Um, well, of course, if you, and this is, I think this is applicable to most nations that had an empire, that was based on the subjugation of um, countries with where the population was black, or that was involved with slave trade and things like that. Is that, of course, um, to sell this to the population, racism was used, and this is also
Yeah.
still something that doesn't go away very easily, especially not under capitalism, where the bourgeoisie also uses like the differences in the proletariat to have like this divide and conquer game. So
Mm.
yeah, of course, it has its influences. Um, and yeah, only socialism can lead us out of this situation. So yeah, until we have that, it will also keep on existing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much. YVO asks, what's Seawart's take on the SP expelling communists and the attempts of the communists to get the SP back on track despite everything? are CJB/NCPN trying to get disgruntled SP to join, or disgruntled SP members to join?
No, there is no active policy to like attract disgruntled SP members. I think most people that join the SP are also not communists. They're like or social democrats, um, or like yeah, left social democrats. You know, kind of what the SP is. So you know, they use um, some vocabulary from communism, but they're not actually communists.
Mm.
With the other thing, like with the members that got expelled, um, yeah, it's something that happened within a social democratic party. I think you can also have like your doubts whether they're actually communists. Um, and they call themselves communists. I know that much. But it's like it's the internal affairs of another party.
Sure.
So it's a social democratic party. It's something that happened within their ranks. That's not something we're gonna get involved with. You know, we have better things to do than sitting around the internet and like checking what the latest. You know, like it's a social democratic party. If they don't want to have communists in their party, then that's because it's a social democratic party and they're not communist and they don't want communists in their party. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But I'm not gonna touch too much upon this subject because you know it's the internal affairs of another party in the Netherlands, like left-wing party. So, like if it was about Forum for Democratie, as I said, it's a different story.
Yeah, no, definitely,
On the internet writing essays about our latest take on what the Socialist Party did, unless it's like a very I don't know important thing. If they would like support a war or something, of course, then it's like. But
definitely, yeah. No, that's a good principle take, and I appreciate you pointing that out there. As members of communist organizations, we do have a responsibility to be quite disciplined on these kinds of issues and not go, you know, running our mouths off about other organizations.
I mean, it would also be like a bit lazy and also just like kind of fucked up if we would like write all these articles like look at what the Socialist Party is doing with these people and they're being expelled, like because when you do that it's always like an invitation for them to join your organization, and I'm like, people that want to join our organization, they will join our organization, and like the energy that we're putting into writing an article to bash them in that way, that's just like time you could also have put into something else.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, comrade. Very good. Next question is from Matthew Calise, who asks, Paul, what is the comrades' party's position on the European Union? Big one.
Fuck the European Union. That's
Based.
our position. No, like we acknowledge that the European Union is a bourgeois project, and it only serves the ruling class and not the working class. So it needs to go. That's pretty much our position. We're not a party that says we should leave the European Union. The European Union must be overthrown by communist parties like in various European Union nations. So that's pretty much what I can say about that.
Thank you very much, comrade. Brilliant. There was another question about I see the question about the anarchists there, but we've already talked a little bit about that, so
yeah,
we can push forward. Crack Elf asks, how does our comrade feel about the Dutch islands?
I think he means like the Caribbean islands.
Yeah, in the Caribbean there, I think there's one or two islands
it's
there.
Like this colonial hangover we have. Like there's still a few islands there are a part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Like our position hasn't changed on it. Like in the when we were founded, we thought they should be independent nations. After the war, we thought they should be independent nations, and I don't think that has changed fundamentally. So right to self-govern. They're not the Netherlands. If they want independence, they should have independence.
Yeah, so this is the traditional Marxist-Leninist line of supporting the right to self-determination of these nations, exactly. which is great to hear upheld. Thank you very much. Elijah Hammond asks, Paul, how do we appeal to the imperial core or places like the Netherlands where the quality of life for workers isn't pressing them to be radical? So I suppose, how do we deal with this kind of labor aristocracy that we see? These people who are sort of pacified through comfort, through a relatively comfortable position in life. What are some good ways of radicalizing or organizing people like this?
Um, I mean, it was a question to me, to you, or shall we
It's the
both
both
answer?
of us. Yeah, both of us, I
Yeah,
think, because
okay.
I mean,
Well,
it's relevant to the
yeah,
Netherlands, also
definitely,
relevant to Ireland. You know.
definitely. Um, yeah, I would say that maybe the standard of living is higher than in, for instance, India, for the working class. But it doesn't mean that people are not affected by it. And
Mm,
like I said earlier, like with young people that are looking for an alternative to having like these shitty wages, to having like these half-year contracts, 0-hour contracts. Um, you should not underestimate that there is really a longing in like the newest generation, a longing for change.
mm,
Like,
yeah.
just imagine being born in 1999 or being born in 2000. The only thing like in your political memory, is crisis. 2008 banking crisis. Then the Syrian like proxy war, and like the refugees coming to Europe, and all the political debate and controversy and right wing and left wing, like everything that came out of that. And now we have like the whole situation with COVID, and out of this, which is the catalyzer for a new economic crisis. Like, these people, they don't know anything else but crisis, crisis, crisis. Of course they're looking for an alternative, and we should give them that. So yes, we're living better than like the global south. Doesn't mean that there are not people that really aspire change.
Mm.
And it just takes a well-organized Marxist-Leninist party to organize them.
Absolutely, that's a really, really good point. And I'd also highlight that conditions are getting worse. Conditions are continually deteriorating, and people can feel it. They can feel this. It's like sand sort of falling through their fingers, where they thought they held on to something and it's just falling through. You know, they thought they could have this good quality of life. They thought that maybe they were growing up. They thought everything would be okay. They had this kind of American dream vision in their head. They'll get a house, they'll get a car, they'll have the wife and kids, and everything will be okay, and so on and so forth. But the reality is that they can't afford the rent. They're cycling out on Deliveroo at all hours of every day. They're struggling to get by. They can't make ends meet. They can't pay their bills. They've got no stability. They don't know if they're gonna have a fucking job next month, let alone a year from now. They can't get a contract. They can't, they can't get a mortgage. They can't own their own properties, their own homes, whatever it might be, which is kind of part of this American dream ideology which we've been fed. I mean, there's so many new struggles that, we talked a little bit about earlier on, about the particular struggles of young people, that this offers new potential for serious radicalization that really wasn't there before. And as you said, there are all these crises that people know, they grew up with, and you can relate that back to the struggles that people are having in their everyday lives. And from there, you can build. We can offer people alternatives. We can show people that there's another way of doing things. And the other way, of course, is socialism, rather than this kind of kamikaze capitalism that people find themselves forced into, that nobody wants to be a part of. And maybe they don't identify it under that name specifically. They don't think the problem is capitalism. But people know that the system's fucked. The system, vaguely, they may not know exactly what that system is, but that this is for us to educate and to help take people
I
by the
mean,
hand and
if,
pull
if,
forward.
if I just look at myself, like I said earlier, when I was young, I just felt
Something
there
wrong.
was
Yeah,
something wrong with society. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, from that point on, you're just looking for answers. And like, if the right wing would have grabbed me before the left wing, then probably, I would have been a completely different person.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Also has to do, of course, with who you are. But like, your
Mm.
material conditions are very important here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
What kind of family you're from. Like, I'm also from like a working class family. Like, my father worked in a factory. My mom was always at home. Then my grandfather also worked in a factory. My other grandfather worked in construction. He was a union man. So yeah, I mean, there are also already some you know,
There's seeds there.
small bits of left-wing ideology, which I was introduced to. But uh, yeah,
Hmm.
never as radical as I am. But yeah, the times also haven't been as radical as in quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This is kind of one of those moments leading up to serious change. Approaching kind of potentially revolutionary situations, but whether or not that actually materializes into anything, that's up to us, revolutionary communists,
Yeah,
to make happen. Thank you very much.
100.
Elijah Hammond asks, Paul, thoughts on co-ops versus local government ownership. Do you have any thoughts on that, comrade? Worker cooperatives or local government
Yeah,
ownership?
I mean, worker cooperatives. I mean, I don't know what he what the comrade means when he says like worker co-ops. Like a worker co-op can be something that you have in a capitalist society,
Sure, yeah.
where you're like, okay, we don't want to be a part of, like we want to have a different kind of structure than a capitalist company. So we're gonna have like a worker co-op that's owned and run by the workers, but still in a capitalist system. So you still have to play by the rules. You can have like worker co-ops like they had in Yugoslavia, for instance. So yeah, it really depends on like
Yeah.
what kind of, like, if we look at like how it is in capitalist countries, then I'm like, yeah, okay, if you want to have like your worker co-op, um, and you want to like rebel against the system in that way, I mean, I'm not going to criticize you on doing that, like just then go for it, I suppose.
I will.
um,
I'll criticize because it's almost a
yeah,
kind of it's kind of like a lifestylist kind of thing, like an individualist. Like you feel really radical, like, oh, I'm challenging capitalism. I'm not a capitalist. It's like, well, you kind of are. You and your friends are just now capitalists. Whether you have like 5 or 6 friends who are running the cooperative. Yeah, okay.
it's
You're
also
no
like you have
longer.
to exploit yourself,
Exactly, it's
like,
a process of self-exploitation within the capitalist
yeah,
system. And
definitely,
it doesn't
definitely.
the thing is it doesn't solve the problems of capitalism. Like this is the thing, like
No,
if you are becoming an anti-capitalist from an individualist perspective where you say fuck this system, I hate being exploited by my boss. Then okay, this can solve that problem. You're not going to be exploited by the boss, you're going to become the
yeah,
boss. You and your friends are going to be the boss, great. But this doesn't deal with the system. This doesn't deal with the falling rate of profit that causes the boom and bust cycles of capitalism. This isn't going to stop the crises happening every 10 to 12 years. Why? Because if you're in like an area, if you're living in like a town, a city, neighborhood, whatever it might be, you're going to have, let's say all of them become worker cooperatives tomorrow. What's going to happen? They're still going to need to produce and they're still going to need to compete against each other because we still live within this capitalist system. And if they're competing against each other, then they're still going to be incentivized to do really fucked up stuff, which is going to lead to climate catastrophe, environmental catastrophe that we have right now. It's going to lead to this falling rate of profits. It's going to lead to the same problems of overproduction that we have right now, where we have 150% of the food being produced every single day to feed all the people on this planet, but it's a problem of distribution, not production. We're still going to have all of these problems. It doesn't deal with any of the problems of capitalism. This is just a social democratic bandage that's put over, a severed limb. It doesn't actually help solve the problem. And there are benefits, of course. It's definitely better than the standard capitalist system in that it teaches workers self-management, which can be useful under a larger socialist system. But as a strategy to actually bring about socialism and eventually communism, it's not. I mean, it's kind of a lifestyle. There's a reason why Ronald Reagan, the arch neoliberal from the United States, wanted to see the United States become a worker cooperative economy. I mean, that's his whole thing. He wanted the U.S. to become a worker cooperative economy, and you can look up speeches of him saying this. Now, if this sounds new to people, if people are just like, "What the fuck are you talking about, Paul? I thought worker cooperatives are really progressive and really cool, and Mondragon in Spain, and etc. etc." As further reading for a little bit more on this, I would say go ahead and check out Rosa Luxemburg's Reform and Revolution, Chapter 7. You don't need to read the full book, the full text. Just specifically, Chapter 7 deals with this question of worker cooperatives and how they can't actually bring about socialism in and of themselves. They can play a part. They can play a part in sort of, revolutionary reforms on the path to actually bringing about a dictatorship of the proletariat, which can usher in socialism and then communism. But on their own, I mean, they're nothing. If it's under socialism, okay, cool, that's good. That can be progressive and can help us get from socialism to communism and that sort of devolvement of power as the state withers away, great. But we're not there yet, and we shouldn't pretend we're there yet. So That's a key thing. There is a kind of vision that people sell, especially people who are into like what they call prefigurative politics. Anarchists and stuff like that talk a lot about this prefigurative politics, where the ends can't justify the means, and the kind of society that you want to create uh, must be materialized within the organizing that you do right now. Of course, that's not actually possible right now, because how we will behave in socialism is very different to how we will behave under capitalism. It's not actually possible to behave under the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie as we would under the dictatorship of the proletariat, under working class power, you know. So it's a little bit utopian, and ultimately it's not capable of bringing about the revolutionary transformation that we as revolutionary communists actually want to achieve. So yeah, that's the big criticism I have of like co-ops, versus like a local government
Retweet
ownership kind of thing.
Paul Moran. Okay. Okay, just listen to Paul. Forget anything I said.
Sorry, comrades. People have asked
No,
me about this a
that
couple
was
of
really
times.
good, man. That was really good. Like definitely. Like the only thing I meant was like if you're with 3 people and you want to have your cute little worker co-op, it's not gonna change everything, but I'm not gonna hardly criticize you. But what Paul said, he's like 100% right about, you know, that worker co-ops are not going to change capitalism, and you should not see a worker co-op as some kind of revolutionary act against the system,
Yeah,
because that it's not.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely, that's it. I mean, there's a place for it, definitely within a larger socialist and communist project. There's definitely a place for that kind of thing, but in the absence of that larger communist movement, it's not going to go anywhere, and it's not going to help. So at that point, it's just kind of an individualist activity. So yeah, join the Communist Party.
Join
your
the Communist
Communist
Party.
Party.
It's like our solution to all the questions.
Everything.
Just join the Communist Party.
Paul,
Join
I'm sick. Join the Communist Party.
CYM doesn't matter if it's in the Netherlands or in Ireland. Depends where
Yes,
it is. And yeah, get involved and do what you
exactly.
have to do for the revolution, comrade.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Our comrade also asks, Elijah Hammond asks, when Ireland is reunited, by the way, based that you said when Ireland is reunited. Thank you very much. Will the capital be Dublin or Belfast? I would say just by population numbers, probably Dublin. But I don't want to be too like fucking chauvinistic.
Want to be like a bit like Vietnam, you know, like you have
Yeah.
like Saigon and you have Hanoi.
Yeah,
But
maybe
yeah,
something like that.
Hanoi is the capital, you know, but like the second biggest city will still be.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we kind of have that with Cork at the moment. But yeah, I don't know. There probably have to be some sort of vote and some sort of agreement on that. It does seem kind of fucked up though to.
And like the whole unification thing is also gonna be like 2023, 24, or even a bit earlier. Like we're gonna do that in 2022, and then really become like fully fledged socialist like half a year later, or like do you have like a schedule for that? Or
Let me see. We were talking about 2024, August 2024 for full communism. So hopefully before then. Hopefully, maybe 2023, maybe the end of 2023, we can have a full reunited socialist Ireland, and then we can do full communism in August 2024. Then we'll figure out the Belfast Dublin question
by popular vote, you know, like fuck it, why
by
not?
popular vote. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, comrade. Oh, now here's a question. I've probably scrolled past a load of different questions here.
I see.
I probably scrolled past a few different questions here, but one that just jumps out at me right now is Crack Elf asking, "What's our comrade's opinion on Zwart Piet?" Now I know this is a little bit of a hot topic, maybe a little bit sensitive. If you want to mention it, if you want to talk about it, great. If you don't want to, no problem. We can talk about other stuff.
Also, if people want to read more about it, we actually have published an article about this. So if you go to our website, which is linked in the description, then you type in like the search engine like Zwarte Piet,
Hmm.
then you will actually get an article. It's like from last year where we kind of explain this. Google Translate is your best friend here. They have pretty good translations from Dutch to English nowadays, I think. But it should be abolished. Like Zwarte Piet, you look at like how the appearance of Zwarte Piet, like this black curly hair, like the black or brown skin with like the big red lips and the earrings and the outfit, like it's a no-brainer to
Yeah,
see where this is based off, like. And
yeah,
uh, yeah, we should oppose it, obviously, like. And I don't know, like it's it's almost a bit sad, but when the right wing calls like left wing people like snowflakes and shit like that, you should see how people are spazzing, like full grown people spazzing about, oh, we should keep Zwarte Piet because it's tradition, and I've been always like doing it since I was like 1 year old. And yeah, okay, that's amazing. Yeah, and back in my day, nobody said anything about it. Yeah, that was the 1950s, dude. Yeah, of course nobody said anything about it. And also, like, first
yeah.
generation of immigrants, from Suriname, from Indonesia, like they didn't say anything about it. Or I mean, even then they already said it. But like in the 70s, this discussion is pretty old. But like
Hmm.
it became more vocal when like their children and their children, they were born in the Netherlands.
Hmm.
They feel themselves Dutch, they feel themselves a part of this society, and they want to have a say in that society. So where their parents were like, okay, we're new in this country, we're not going to say anything about it, or not a lot, that's where like the children and the grandchildren are saying, fuck no, we're taking a stand against this. And it's pretty much also, it's not just a fight against Zwarte Piet, it's a fight against racism in the Netherlands in general. Like if there is one thing that like this discussion has shown, is that there is really deep reaction that are really deep reactionary ideas within the Dutch society.
Hmm.
Like you should see what they call black people that are actually engaged in this. Like it's absolutely disgusting. Like,
Right. I suppose it's just kind of the right, like getting the right question to really kind of show, to really expose those kinds of problems. In Ireland, maybe in the Netherlands, it's prodding the sleeping tiger of Swart Pete. But in Ireland, if you ask, in Ireland, everybody is like fuck racism. Racism pretty bad. There's kind of a centre left kind of common
mhm.
sense in Ireland. But then when you ask the average Irish person about travellers, Irish travellers, which
Oh
are
yeah,
an ethnic
yeah,
group. You might have heard like Roma people. It's a
yeah,
kind of similar kind of thing. Ask them about that, and suddenly they're just like, "Yep." Insert general statement about casually
yeah.
genociding people,
Oh, oh, Jesus.
and it's just like, what the fuck? Like, it's really crazy, like it really just like it's so extreme. But there's I suppose
Wow.
every society has this kind of weak spots, and in those weak spots you can kind of and unfortunately, of course, the far right know about them, and they're harnessing them, for their own reactionary agenda, So it's up to us to help our class and try to help correct these errors of thinking and
Mhm.
thought that we have, and yeah, this is our failing, I suppose, as communists. We need to stamp out these reactionary ideologies anytime they surface. So yeah. Thank you very much. There's a question about the CYM here, the Connolly Youth Movement in Ireland. Elmer V or Elmer 5. Paul, speaking of beating the far right, whatever became of the CYM proposition to do collective self defense classes and such? With COVID, these self defense classes are not quite as active as they would have been before, just due to social distancing, and you can't do that legally. So we've been focusing a lot on fitness and physical health and that kind of activity. Now, of course, there are limitations to what you can do there, but we at the moment are running. It's pretty cool. We're like through Zoom. We're doing like physical education course classes, and some good comrades are doing that. Shout out to Comrade Dara for the support there. Now I haven't attended them because I am an I am an out of shape bastard, but the comrades are working on that.
Yeah,
It's like the
already
Zoom.
close.
It's like a Zoom thing. It's like little Zoom classes that they do where like they actually get down and they do like their sit ups, their push ups, their jumping jack, like everything that you'd imagine like from a normal like physical education class. Like they're doing them over Zoom now. It's either 2 or 3 times a week at the moment, but I think there's been some questions about how often it's going to be. It's anywhere somewhere between 2 and like 5 times per week. But anyway, yeah, comrades are we're still doing that. We're trying to get in shape. I am very much of the older group of comrades in the CYM. A lot of the comrades would be, in their late teens and their early 20s. I am a little bit more senior in my years. I am on the tail end of my 20s at the moment, and I don't have the vitality that some of the younger comrades have. But younger comrades are doing us proud, so don't you worry about that. The young comrades are getting fit, getting in shape, and are getting into fighting form to help bring about socialism and to fight the far right, moving all throughout the 20s. So yeah, so don't worry about it. Our comrades are out working on it. So yeah, I'm not sure. Is that a thing? Is that a thing that you guys work on as well over in the CJB? Do you guys do like physical health stuff, or maybe like promotion of healthy lifestyle kind of stuff? Or
It's not like an official thing, but like yeah, in within our ranks, like it yeah gets like promoted, like comrades that are telling each other like, we should work out, not just to get in shape, but also like definitely like during this COVID period, like go out, do a couple of push-ups,
yeah,
um, take a walk. That's also something, to stay in shape. That's important. Like there's not really like this kind of red cover, even though that kind of sounds sexy in my opinion. uh, but maybe I'll talk about it the next time, like the central committee is like having a meeting. I will say that when are we going to start.
yeah, definitely. I think it's a really good. I think it's a really good initiative that communists should take up. Encouraging good, healthy lifestyles, people getting fit,
Yeah,
getting strong,
definitely.
and really ready to defend our class in every way that we need to. So yeah, it's good. I mean, like you need to be physically fit and mentally well. In order to really engage in communist activism, it can be quite challenging. I mean, you're always going to be attacked either physically or verbally or whatever it might be. People are going to come for you, and you need to be able to defend yourself. And so staying fit and staying well is a key part of that. So definitely something that we can all look into and do more of.
Yeah, and if you're having like difficulties with starting, especially like in the Netherlands, like the gyms are closed, you can't really do too much, and if you have difficulties like leaving the house or like starting to work out, because I know that that can be like you can have some trouble starting that actually.
Mm,
Then you just start with taking walks, and like I
yeah.
actually do this sometimes. Like I also go running, or I have a like a fitness bench at home and like two dumbbells, so I work with that as well. But sometimes you just like you want to go out, and it's an evening, it's 9, it's not raining like it always does in the Netherlands, so it's 9 o'clock in the evening, you're getting out, grab your phone, grab your earphones, and then like listen to, I don't know, a nice podcast from Paul Morin, or like
Oh, come
any
on.
other person on left tube, and or like listen to things that you might not agree with. I also do that sometimes
Mm.
when I'm like, because you also need to hear the arguments of the group that you don't agree with,
Yeah, definitely. Know your
so you can
enemy.
form your own opinion, and you know how to attack them, or at least block their attacks towards you.
Definitely. Got to be
uh,
prepared.
and then when you go out walking like 3 times a week, then one of those days go running. And when you do that, and then at some point you ease like into it, and you actually get a lot of yeah, I mean, you feel nice about it, like all
Mm.
these um, little things in your head start to happen,
Yeah,
and
you get
then
that
you feel good.
you get runner's high.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
Yeah, it
the
feels really good.
runner's high.
What do they call it? The endorphins. You get like the endorphins and the dopamine rushes and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah, it's nice.
that kind.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Conrad. I appreciate that. We have a pretty fun question here, an interesting question. Matthew Killis asks, Paul Moran, does our comrade know whether Jose Maria Sison engages in political struggle in the Netherlands? That's Jose Maria Sison, our comrade from the CPP, the Communist Party of the Philippines, the NPA, and so on and so forth, who is living in the Netherlands now. I think he's living in Utrecht, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah,
Have you heard
yeah.
anything about him? Maybe he's just lying low, I suppose. I know he's doing a lot of
No,
karaoke on YouTube, which is amazing. I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
Have you seen those? Have you seen those videos? They're amazing.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them.
They're class.
Yeah, for this I would say like maybe ask like our comrades at Revolutionaire Eenheid, which means revolutionary unity, by the way.
Mm,
Maybe you can ask them because I know that they have connections.
mm,
Actually,
mm. Brilliant. So we can direct our
like I
questions.
said, they're more focused on like third world solidarity kinds of stuff.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of what he seems to be doing is directing comrades to support what's going on in the Philippines and in other people's wars going on right now all over the world. So there's a lot of directing our material resources to those struggles rather than trying to create struggles here. Or trying to harness the struggles that are here. So.
Yeah, and it's not like they're doing absolutely nothing. Like they also do stuff with the union from time to time. But like again, I don't really know what they do because they're not in my city. Like they're in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, those bigger cities, and I don't really see it.
Mm,
So I know what's happening here, and I know who you should join where you live, where I live. And that's
mm,
the communist youth.
based. And on the Communist Youth Movement, Faye SF, good comrade from the Connolly Youth Movement. How are you getting on, Faye? Good to see you. Faye says, been following the CJB's work for a while. Over the past few years, I know you have claimed to have exponential growth in the organization. Why do you think this is? What's the secret? So, what's the secret to your success?
Well, I think we already touched upon this a bit earlier that people are just fed up with how society is at the moment. That's like the first thing. They also see that parties like the Socialist Party, where I felt attracted to when I was a younger lad, let's say, that not they're not like fulfilling the thing that you're looking for. Like what you want is a revolutionary organization that wants to overthrow capitalism. If you look at the SP and you see the leader saying like we have nothing against capital, you're like, yeah, fuck them, I'm not going to join them. What is this? And they're also like a little bit critical about EU. No, fuck the EU. Like it's
Based.
you're just not they're not completely there the whole time. Like it's I don't know, everything they say is a kind of anticlimax. So
Mm,
um I think that's one reason. So and also our appearance is getting more professional. Like people know that we're out here. We're getting bigger. Like they find people can find us on social media. They can find us on just on the internet by our website. Like we said before, if you open the website, you're like, oh, doesn't look so bad. Looks pretty good actually. What do they stand for? And you start reading and you're like, oh, that's cool. So it's like it's not just one thing that is the reason, but I like it's a trend through the whole of I don't know, the whole of Europe. That's a very big continent or a lot of countries to talk about. So
mm.
say Western Europe, Northern Western European, Anglo-Saxon, and Ireland, something like that.
Mm.
Because
Thank
like
you
in
for
the
saying
south of
Anglo-Saxon
Europe
and
has a
Ireland.
different history
Thank you for separating them, by
with
the way.
yeah,
I
I
appreciate
know who
that.
I'm talking to, like else I am getting a letter from the Central Committee of the Connolly Youth Movement.
Just
Why
says up the
I'm like,
rat. That's all it says. Up the rat. That's it.
yeah, up the exactly. And the day they're going to get rid of me in Minecraft, also around 2000, somewhere there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to like delete this. Stalin's gonna censor this entire stream. What stream? It didn't happen. There was a stream with CJB. What are you talking about? Oh my god. I have to erase this piece of history.
We're good at.
Yeah, thank you very much, comrade. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there is this kind of trend. Communist organizations, everyone I talk to in their communist organization, it seems to be growing a lot over the last 5 to 10 years. The last 5 years in particular, I think. I think really the sort of progressive wave hit a lot of young people with people like Bernie Sanders and stuff coming out like in 2015, 2016. They started getting people thinking about left wing ideas in the Western world generally and broadly. And yeah, and then it developed from there into a
Also
massive.
climate change, of course. I shouldn't forget about that. Like that's also like a really
Ex-
big topic at the moment.
excuse me, sorry, I didn't hear what you said. What was that?
Oh, like climate change.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. We got like what?
Also, like, I
How many
mean,
years?
well, can't believe I actually forgot that. But like
Yeah.
this also makes people think about like our political system and our economic system, and they see like, oh, climate change. Where does that come from? Like, and what is the role of like big industry in this? And they just see like, oh shit, this is a problem of the whole system. So if we want to tackle this, we have to tackle the whole system. Um, so yeah, that's I think that's one of the reasons that we're actually growing,
Mm.
keep on growing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, brilliant. Thank you very much, Conrad. It's a really, really good point. A lot of people realize that the generations that have gone before us have fucked things up seemingly beyond repair in terms of the environment. And what can we do? There's nothing to do. We can't reform this away. We need a quick solution. We need socialism. It's the only way of actually solving this problem. You know, what is it? What is it like? 72% of all emissions are what is it, like 100
Yeah,
companies? 100 companies are responsible for 72% of all
I think
the
even less than
emissions. Maybe it's even more.
maybe
Yeah.
it changed. I don't
Yeah, but it's
know.
really crazy. Like, there's just a very small amount of capitalist organizations and who are
Yeah,
responsible
but
for
this
this,
is
and the only thing we can
and
do
like we're
is
not going to
socialism.
solve this problem with like showering 5 minutes less than you do normally, or like buying product A or B that says that it's fair trade or whatsoever like this or like yeah, whatever, like all these personal solutions for like these big problems. It's like it's not how it works, you know, like we're not going to beat these problems. We're not going to solve them by changing our lifestyle, you know, like,
Mm.
and if everyone would change their lifestyle the way that I did
Metal
because I'm
straws.
on the right side of history, then it's going to be fine. No, that's not a solution. You're part of the fucking problem when you think that that is a solution.
That's right, yeah, and so many people do buy into this, and they have good intentions, by the way. A lot of these people who buy into green capitalism, and they think that if they go vegan or if they use metal straws or whatever it might be, that's problem solved. That's
Yeah.
a okay, but unfortunately, it's just not. You know, actually, a big wake up call moment for me learning about this was when I looked at like water pollution and stuff like that, and like fresh water and running out of that. Only 4% of the water that's used in the world, like 4% of the fresh water that's used in the world, is used by consumers, like individuals. So
Mm.
you have like people telling you that you need to use less water, that you need to shower for less time, don't take baths, take a shower, or this or that or whatever it might be. Even if we reduced, even if we reduced our activity, we halved everything we do in terms of water usage in the world. That would only bring things down to 2%. That would be like, that's 2%. There's still 96% that's unaccounted for, and is the responsible of is the industry is responsible for that. So there's not that fucking much we can do as individuals, even if we're successful in this particular avenue that we're exploring. Even if we're super successful, the best case scenario is ultimately negligible. The effects are absolutely negligible. It's such a tiny impact that it's not even worth it. It's not even worth considering.
Mhm.
So yeah, and it's the same thing, when it comes to individually. If you stop eating red meat, or if you don't do this, if you use the correct straws or whatever it might be, the end goal of these individual consumer actions are not enough to solve the problem.
Yeah.
So, what do? We need to tackle these issues systemically, collectively. And of course, as we talked earlier, we talked about like cooperatives and stuff like that. These progressive movements can be part of a larger project, and that's fine and that's good and that can be progressive, and actually would
Mhm.
be very progressive as part of a larger communist project. But individually, as like individualistic lifestyle choices, uh, it's not doing that much aside from making you feel better about your participation in this horrific capitalist system, this capitalist imperialist system that we find
Mhm.
ourselves in. You know.
Yeah, that's great, man. Definitely.
All right, thank you very much, comrade. Comrade, we are approaching 3 hours. I think that's usually a pretty good time to start winding things down. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
you wanted to take any more questions or if you wanted to wrap things up.
Uh,
I am
yeah.
conscious. Well, I'm conscious of the fact that when we go on longer than 3 hours, if we get anywhere near 4 hours, people start complaining. People start saying it's too long, and people get really mad about that. So yeah, that's a thing that happened when I had Bay Area on.
Well,
People,
and like I have no problems with taking one or two more questions. Maybe we
cool.
could do like a final question.
Yeah, sure.
Um, on the other hand, like the question we just had, I think that that could also like close it up.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah,
Well,
you're the host, so
well,
by all means.
I'll tell you, I don't see any big questions in the chat at the moment. That may be because we fell behind on the Q&As. We probably missed quite a few of them. Let me just take a little look up to the chat and see if I can see any big ones there. Oh, okay. There's one. Oh, it's asking your opinion about another party. Lee Ann asks, what is our comrade's opinion on the Dutch party Bij1, BIJ1?
I
You
It
what?
means like I think it means like together.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's like this kind of a new party. They're not revolutionary. They're also just like, yeah, I don't know, social democratic. I don't even know how to call them, but they have like in their party manifesto um, for the coming elections, which are in 2 months, they have like something that they use the word capitalism. They say that they want like a democratically planned economy, and I can see that this appeals to like young Marxists,
Mm.
but they're not a Marxist-Leninist or a revolutionary party. So um, I don't know. Like I'm not too enthusiastic about it. If you want to know more about it, then the coming months we're also gonna write more, because I also have not done a lot of research on this party yet. So I cannot say like, oh, they're the worst thing in the world or they're okay. I wouldn't say they're okay, because it's basically a social democratic party. Like there's nothing
Mm.
revolutionary about them. And it's also like kind of like a coalition of different groups of people that, like, I heard a Greek comrade say, like, it reminds me a little bit of Syriza
Mm.
in a way. Um, but yeah, we all knew what happened with Syriza when they came to power, you know.
Didn't
So
work. They just became the
no, like,
administrators of
it's not
capital
the
of
answer.
European
So
imperialism.
instead of getting involved with Bayern, I would say get involved with your local communist party and like
Yeah.
build a genuine vanguard of the proletariat.
Yeah.
That's what I would say about it.
Absolutely. Extremely principled, extremely based. Thank you very much, comrade. I appreciate that a lot. Just another couple little questions or little points here in the chat. Faye SF says Aranua Sinn Féin wanted the capital to be Athlone. Aranua was the policy of Sinn Féin, provisional Sinn Féin, I believe in the early 1970s after the split in 1969 between official Sinn Féin and provisional Sinn Féin. Official Sinn Féin became the Marxist-Leninist split. Eventually became very reformists. Provisional Sinn Féin were the sort of traditional Republican split, although they took a kind of, in the early days, they took kind of a libertarian socialist perspective, became a little bit more Marxist as things went on. They had a policy in the early 1970s, which I think was abandoned in the late 1970s, called Éire Nua. And I didn't realise that they wanted the capital to be Athlone of Ireland, so not necessarily Dublin or Belfast, but Athlone. So yeah, fuck it, why not? Anyway, yeah, there's a little tidbit of information there. So great stuff. Thank you very much. Let me just see if there's any other questions there. I do want to acknowledge Crackelf. How are you getting on? I see that. £1 on Patreon. Thank you very much. I'll send you a message on Patreon. We'll talk about that question from earlier on at a later stage. I see Revolution International asking, do you know how I can support the Filipino Maoists? Comrades, at the moment, I would say hold off. The government is coming down very hard on the Filipino Maoists at the moment, so just take it easy. I did have on the video with Space Babies, I did have a link that you could follow to support comrades who are involved in the legal struggle that's going on with some different organizations. But I actually had to take that down because if we are connecting the broad front organizations to the Communist Party of the Philippines and the MPA, then that can potentially that can cause some legal difficulties for them. And yeah, we wouldn't want to do anything that could potentially harm the communist movement in the Philippines by associating these legal organizations with the clandestine activity of the revolutionary militant communists. So just for the moment, I would say hold off and just wait until things cool down, and then start looking into the legal organizations associated or allegedly associated with the NPA and the CPP. So yeah, thank you very much. Let me see if there's anything else in the chat here that we can address before we finish up. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I think we are good to go. I think you might be free to wrap things up, do some final words, maybe do some shout outs for upcoming activity. Maybe if you want to tell people again, how they can get involved with the CJB, how they can support the movement, maybe if they're not in the Netherlands. Shout outs, any final words that you have. Now's the time to do it.
Okay, so first of all, if you do not live in the Netherlands, but you're like, hey, this guy Siewert and his party movement, they're pretty okay. If you go to like the link below that says like voorwaarts.net, there is also an English website, and you go to the left corner, and there you can find English, and you can actually donate to the communist youth movement. So if you're not in the Netherlands but you want to support us, this is the way how you can do it. If you're in the Netherlands and you want to support us but not immediately become a member, you can do the same. But I would highly suggest that you do get involved with the communist youth movement and the new Communist Party of the Netherlands by also clicking the link below that says voorwaarts.net/lid worden, because it's more important than ever that young people get involved with the Communist Party, with the Communist Youth Movement. Because if you're not gonna do it, then nobody's gonna do it. If I'm not gonna do it, nobody's gonna do it. If you're interested in things that we do, there's like for the Dutch-speaking people, we have like a live stream about the February strike, which was like a very famous strike in the Netherlands, like during the Second World War. It was like the biggest strike in the whole of Europe against the Holocaust, which was actually led by the Communist Party of the Netherlands. So we have an event about it. It's going to be an online event. It's going to be streamed. If you want to check that, then just like keep in touch through Facebook, through our website, and I'm sure you will figure it out.
Absolutely, and I will add links to the Facebook, to Twitter, and so on and so forth afterwards into the description. But for now, you'll find a link to the website in the description box below, so go ahead and check that out. Give some support to our comrades. Again, thank you so much, Siewert, for coming on. It's been absolutely great. I have learned a lot. The people in the chat have learned a lot. There's a lot of people who are hugely impressed by this stream, and I hope that some young Dutch comrades will check this out, will see this, and maybe get interested in your organization. And if not that young Dutch comrades, then maybe people from outside of the Netherlands will at least be able to give some support, some material support to the organization to help the movement grow. It's really important that young communists and people who are supportive of communism are giving that support to these organizations, because without this active participation of us, it's not going to happen. As you said, socialism won't happen unless we make it happen. So listen, comrade, thank you so much for coming on. It's been absolutely great. I've learned a lot. The comrades in the chat, who I hope are communists, I think they've learned a lot. And yeah, it's been absolutely great. So thank you very much. Do you have any final words that you want to say? Anything to close up with? Any good final, how can I say, catchphrases?
Proletarians of all countries unite. Join your local Communist Party, whether you be in the Netherlands, Ireland, Great Britain, India, Venezuela, Brazil, it doesn't matter where the fuck you live. Join your local Marxist-Leninist party. This is our time, comrades. Let's go.
Let's do it. Absolutely. Let's do communism. Let's make it happen for socialism in our lifetime. Tomorrow.
Okay.
High hopes.
Join.
Absolutely. High hopes for August 2024. Comrades, if I don't see full communism by August 2024, there's going to be blood. So let's make it happen.
I see this stream and then see, we said it right there. We said it. It was good.
Thank you so much. I'll just do a quick shout out to some comrades I see in the live chat here, and then we'll wrap things up. So thank you very much, comrades. Thank you very much to M. Bergstrom, Ben Toth, Real Politics. Actually, thank you very much to all of the comrades in CJB who've checked this out this evening, who've stuck around. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. And yeah, share it around, spread this to people. Hopefully, people will hear the message and find it useful to any prospective members. Join the organization, get involved. Thank you very much, comrades. Thank you to Dasha Dvervets, I can't pronounce that, Vermelio Batuta, Carlos Herrera, Norwin Siards, Jess Doyle, Ben Toths, Real Politics. Who else can I see here? Joseph Stalin. Hey, love it. Joseph Stalin. Thank you very much, comrades.
Finally here.
Finally has arrived after
He's here in the chat.
after many months and years. Is finally showing his face. Thank you very much, comrade. Comrade Alex, thank you. Ronan G. Hart, thank you very much. Jolie, thank you very much. Great to see you. Real Politics, thank you very much. Nathan Drake, thank you very much. And KV and all the other comrades that I see in the chat there, thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed this stream. I hope you have a lovely week. I will be back next Tuesday with another stream. I'm going to hopefully have a Socialism 101 course. Hopefully that's going to be up next Thursday or Friday. It's taking a little bit longer because I'm starting with some new software for people who are curious. I'm starting with some new software. I'm trying to figure out how to use Adobe After Effects, which you use for animation, to hopefully get things looking a little bit more professional. Like the really high quality YouTube videos that you see, they all use this animation software. So I've had to learn how to use it, and it's been tough. So it's taking a little bit longer than I expected, but hopefully by next Thursday we'll have that up. So it's taking me a little bit longer. But yeah, I'll be back with another stream next Tuesday and next Friday as well. Next Tuesday, A World to Win is coming on. Next Friday, Tanky Talk is coming on. And then next Thursday as well, before the Friday, hopefully I'll have that video out. The Socialism 101 course will get started. And yeah, so comrades, thank you very much. I hope you're all doing well. Enjoy the rest of the week. I will definitely talk to you again next Tuesday. And yeah, have a good weekend. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you again, Siewert. I hope you have found this enjoyable. I hope you've enjoyed the rambling.
Very good experience. Then again, like what we said in the beginning, it's so good to see, to understand, to feel that we're not in this fight alone.
Definitely. You have comrades all over the world.
And it's good to realize that sometimes.
Definitely. It's a good reminder. And we need it. We need that sometimes because it can feel like you're all alone. And okay, I might have, even if we're successful in having a revolution in this country that I happen to be in right now, well, what's going to happen to all the countries all over the world, all the rest of the countries? You know, you need to see that communist movement active all over the world, and it is there. And sometimes it's useful to be reminded by it. And of course, you'll see a lot of that as well with like the meeting of European Communist Youth Organizations and the World Federation for Democratic Youths, or excuse me, World Federation of Democratic Youth. And yeah, but these kinds of conversations are useful for that as well. So comrades, thank you so much. Thank you to all the comrades in the chats. Enjoy the week, enjoy the weekends, and we'll talk again soon.
Everyone have a good evening.
Have a good evening, comrades. Cheers everyone. August. Slán go fóill. Take care.